welcome everybody today. So welcome to Foster Remodeling. So today we're going to do expert sessions for your home. So we have a couple of industry experts here along with our whole crew of in-house experts. So we want to go through a lot of different topics to bring you guys up to speed on things that are happening in the industry. So first of all, I'd like to introduce David Foster, the owner and president of the company.
How you doing?
So I'm Chris Arnold, Vice President of Business Development, and I've going on 21 years with the company, so happy to be here. And then John Davis, he's our production manager, but we give him time off on the weekends. So also want to introduce some of our in-house experts. So we have Sharon Bubenhofer, she's one of our designers. We have Diane Marciano, Leah Stigl in the back, Kara and Julia, and they'll all be presenting throughout the sessions this morning. And then also we have a design team who helps us out behind the scenes. So we have two architectural designers, Joshua and Lotta, and Bill is our estimator. So that's kind of our office staff. And then we have Teresa in the back who tries to keep us all straight.
Oh, Maria's not here today.
So today we actually have an agenda printed, so it should be on the front of everyone's folder. So what we're going to do is go through a few different topics. So to start, I'd like to introduce Lauren Hammonds.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. So Lauren Hammonds from Ferguson Home. So just a couple of things that we offer and we get to work with Foster on. Everything kind of within all the pretty stuff, if you will, within your bathroom and your kitchen remodel. We recently opened an OmniLink channel to open up some more stuff, but basically plumbing, appliances, lighting, mirrors, all of that. And we're going to go through just a few things today if you are remodeling to start thinking about, and some trends as well. All right, so starting with plumbing. This is kind of our DNA at Ferguson. This is what we've always done. And just a couple things to think about, because there's a ton of faucets out there, right? Specifically with faucets. There is a difference of a wholesale company like a Ferguson versus say like a retail company, a Home Depot. Physically and how it's made. So I always like to bring this up because you guys are coming to Foster, you want longevity. That is why they purchase a lot of things from us, because they last longer. So in the faucets in particular, there is actually different inside components that a Ferguson or a wholesaler has versus a Home Depot, and that goes to longevity. Cartridges being ceramic and solid brass construction, no plastic parts basically. And it's tough because we'll have, I'm just going to say Kohler Devonshire, that's a price from Home Depot, and a Kohler Devonshire from Ferguson, two different prices but two different components. So it's always just nice to know they're buying the stuff that's going to keep it going for a while. And again, the longer warranties of the brand. So, if a Ferguson calls Kohler Delta 10 years, they don't ask us for an invoice, they just ship us parts. So, them working with us, we can usually help you long term. And then just, when you are thinking about bathrooms, so there's usually collections within the brands. So you'll see here, it starts with our sink faucet, and then everything kind of can coordinate if you'd like it to, as far as accessories, tub fillers, all your showering components. And depending on the design on the faucet, they have very particular elements that kind of coordinate them together. So it's a nice kind of combination. And we're going to talk a little bit about showering, because that's kind of probably the most fun thing. I had it before. No, what am I doing? Okay. So showering system. So anywhere from a very simple, probably what a lot of us have now, your very simple on-off shower head, maybe a tub spout included as well. We call these pressure balancing systems. So essentially our basic on-off system. On this system, we can do a little bit adding on components with it. So you'll see here, this is actually a rain head. And a handheld, like a wand. And we also show that here as well. But you'll notice the difference here is how many control valves. So in this one in particular, this is a really great piece. It's called a retrofit kit, where I could actually pull off my shower head and stick this on, and I don't touch my plumbing behind the wall. So I say that to you because depending on whatever budget you guys are at, there are so many options that Foster can recommend to you to get you what you want, which is a really great thing. As we step up here, again, you'll see the secondary valve. So this may be where maybe it is your primary and you want the option to have both on at the same time. You want to be under your shower head and using your handheld, that's oftentimes we have to add, another control on. So lots to do in what we would kind of consider your standard setup, if you will, which is really great. Lots of different finish options. We'll talk about some of those with trends too. And then we get into our car wash, which some people still want to have. So this is like a lot going on, right? You may have been to like a really nice hotel and you're like, wow, these body sprays are awesome. Well, you can have them in your house if you want to. But I do show you this because the thermostatic system is the name of it. It's kind of your upgraded shower system. The biggest thing is when you're adding multiple heads on. So right here, I'm really looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads. I got to have the right components to turn those on and to have them work to where I need them to work. You don't want one to dribble and not to dribble. So all that being said, all you guys need to know is what's my dream shower. They're going to make sure not only do you have the right valves and everything in there, but you have the right water pressure, water heater, all of that, which is great. This system's pretty cool too. Not only do we recommend it when you're getting into multiple, but you actually can preset your temperature here. So let's say, like right now you walk in and you turn your shower on. This is what I do. All the way hot, and then I gotta go down to where I wanna be, right? With this specific one, this is actually temperature only. So I can move this all around and there's no water coming out of it. These are the separated volume controls. So 2 things, you get a little bit more pressure, as well as you can leave it and set it and know it's always a perfect temperature when you come into that shower. So nice option there. And again, a lot of brands offer consolidated options. There's a lot of different options within the different brands, but it is a really nice feature, obviously a higher price point. So again, all dependent on budget. But you can see from these last 2 slides, you can do a lot of different things to create the shower that's good for you. Lastly, I have digital shower controls. I know. And these, they are not new, believe it or not. They have been around forever. They are cool, but I mean, digital makes everyone a little nervous, myself included. The new thing that I always like to point out here is, so the Kohler has the Anthem series. They've really done a good job at consolidating all those controls. Look at this, all these things going on. I can do the same thing right here on a singular control valve. Now this is actually a manual control. So similar like how you turn your car volume up, same thing here. So you have your temperature, I preset it, and then I turn my shower head, rain head, body sprays. So it's kind of a newer option where you don't have to get into the full-on digital, because that just makes people nervous. If you lose your power, yes, you cannot turn your shower on. That is the thing. Hopefully there's another one in the house, but that is something that is a possibility. So just to know, that's the biggest worrisome, and it's totally, I understand it. Why people do this, sometimes maybe I want a steam shower. There's options for that. Cool thing about this, if you are in technology, they're app-based. So I could lay in bed and turn my shower on. Right? Okay, I'm just saying. So these come in handy. Or again, it's the cost effectiveness, because when I'm putting all those valves and all those controls, it adds up in price. And even though it's digital, it still could be a little less money. So these have come a long way. Kohler's had them for 20 years. The reason I like this brand overall is because they have trained someone in our DC metro market that is able to go on site and physically troubleshoot, as well as say something was wrong with it, Kohler would pay that plumber to come out and fix it. So you guys don't have to do anything with it. So there's more help behind this brand if you're interested in it. But yeah, these come up. This one is kind of the winner because it just looks clean and simple and still works like we like it to work. Then just a couple questions. Hey, I do want to do multiple shower heads. What should I do? So rain head, which is what we're showing here, could come from ceiling, could come from wall. Great option, and we love a rain head. We would always recommend, though, it is a secondary option. It just doesn't have a ton of pressure, right? So whether you just like the pressure, you want to wash your hair, thicker hair, this is a great option, but think of it, the same amount of water, we call it gallons per minute, is coming out of a 4-inch and an 8-inch. So you're not going to always get that pressure. So we say yay, but always do it as a secondary. You want a shower head or a handheld or something in conjunction with it. Body sprays, we talked about it. So these are great, but they are going to right away, we need to worry about water heaters. You know, do we have the right pressure? Do we have the right controls? You're kind of putting yourself into that next bracket. And they're great as long as, again, the budget's there. And then lastly, handhelds. I'm like the biggest, I would say put a handheld in everything, even if you can only do one, because it's so versatile. So whether you've got pets you want to wash off, maybe you get like hurt and you want to just be able to body, I don't wash my hair every day, so maybe I want to do that. Whatever it is, it's so versatile. You'll see here, this is on a slide bar, which I think there's one back there that I can show you if you're interested. But you can actually fix it up to where a regular shower head would be and never take it off. Like maybe you would like to use it every day, but you don't. It doesn't matter. It's just whoever's in there. And that could be your primary shower head. So again, just thoughts on like, if you're interested in it, if you have a possibility to do it, I would highly recommend it. So trends change. I will say some of these in bathrooms have been around for years now. You know, you guys know what you're doing for your remodel. Are you doing this remodel because we want to update and sell in a few years? Maybe some of this we would, you know, if you're doing it for you, it's your bathroom. You do whatever you want to do and whatever makes you happy. We just remember my kitchen, and as much as I love this, we went chrome and white cabinets. We went simple. I wanted the classic look. So keep all that in mind. All the trends are kind of similar, but don't feel like if you don't put brass in, you're not making the right decision. So freestanding tubs, we're still seeing a ton of these just for a cleaner look. Nice thing is now, you'll notice that I had that paired with a faucet that goes to the floor. They now have a ton of options. It is deck mounted, so it's more a cost savings option and easier to use, which is nice. We use the brand Signature Hardware a lot. They have a really good, lots of options in style, color, and they're all like made very well too. So our brass finishes are still around. This, you know, every brass from every vendor is very different. The polished brass that we saw, like shiny brass, it's kind of coming back, but it's not as prevalent as some of these brushed matte finishes. And then this is kind of the winner. I'd say the last 2 or 3 years, this has overtaken almost anything. It's like the newer brushed nickel. So it's still a very muted tone. It matches with everything. And it just has a little warmer of a tone underneath. They call it a champagne bronze. And that's specifically from Delta and Brizo. And then we're seeing a lot of two-tone. So people, especially with these brasses, they don't want a ton of brass. So they'll mix in some matte black with that as well. Lit mirrors, again, high-end hotels, you're like, wow, I can see everything. And these are very moderate price points now. When they came out, they were insanely expensive. And now they've come much more down in price where they're great for residential options. And sometimes you don't have to put a light in if you're doing this too. So that is your whole lit option. So like this part here is the light that's integrated in it. Skirted toilets, these have come a long way. So you notice I don't have my little snake drain that I have to clean all the time. They make these in very moderate price points now, but they are so much easier. You know, if you're going into a half bath and that's the first thing you see, it really does look a lot nicer. And then lastly, filtered shower heads. Depending on where you live, hard water, any filter is good for skin and hair. So online, on Instagram, this was out there, but they'd only come in one color. Now all of our brands have it. So Delta, Moen. Big thing is you want to match your finish in your shower. So we're seeing that often too. But you do have to change, so if you change your refrigerator cartridge, you got to change your filter cartridge. And then kind of just quickly on kitchens, there's a ton of different options within, sinks as far as under mounting one, farmhouse sink, drop in, so where you're putting it on top, or a workstation that we'll talk about. These all can kind of come in different variations, as well as different finishes. So stainless is still around for sure. It will always be, it's a great option. We see some composite or fire clay, like a white finish. Oftentimes in the farmhouse sink as well. Cast iron, we see copper. Sometimes they just want that to be the focal point, or that's your focal point. So there's a lot of cool options now from just your undermount sink. And faucet options they vary. They're everywhere. If you have multiple sinks in your kitchen, we cannot kind of coordinate that for everything. Bar faucets, different options for sprays. And then again, just some trends. So this is that farmhouse sink I was mentioning in the white, but comes white, comes They have brass now, lots of different options. So we do see that, and we see this is called a pre-rinse faucet. So it kind of looks like a pro style, very like there's a ton of options there. They don't look as industrial anymore when you change the finish of them. This is the best one. So workstation, all that means is it comes with accessories included. So like you have your colander, your cutting board, and they actually fit in with the sink. So if you're cutting, you're right there. You can get a workstation almost any type of sink, which is really nice. And then touch upgrades. So, whether that's for just a cool factor or, your hands are messy and you want to be able to turn on your faucet with a touch application, most vendors offer some sort of that, which is a really nice feature too. We are going to jump into appliances. So you'll see we're going to go over plumbing appliances and lighting. There's so much more. We could talk to you for an hour on each of these. So if you have questions, we'll be here after. But these are our brands that we deal with. Now, there are a ton of brands online. We consider preferred brands for Ferguson where I can help you with something. At the end of the day, this is the most used part of your house. It's either always running or you're using it a lot. So you want to make sure that what you're putting in is going to last for a long time. And these are variations of price points and options. But just know, like, we normally recommend these just for the longevity. Just kind of a couple different kitchens. So you'll see kind of your like 4-piece suite where you've got your over-the-counter microwave over your range. That's kind of a dual function. So you microwave and it's ventilation. Dishwasher, refrigerator, we're normally seeing that 36-inch. We do see a lot of a French door. That's what we're considering here. French door versus the side-by-side. We still have those. And then you kind of jump up to your 5-6-piece kitchen, and in here you'll see there's a nice chimney style hood. There is a range as well. Most likely there's either a microwave in the pantry of some sort, which people still do, or maybe a drawer microwave we'll talk about a little later. I like this as another variation of the French door. This is probably the newest thing. So having this dedicated drawer right here is a really big deal in French door. So when I have this little drawer is just inside the big 2 doors. But this is really nice for a lot of them. You can actually adjust what you want it to be. Some can get to freezer, some can get to beverage, some can get to white wine. Like you have kids or grandkids, it's their snack drawer, whatever it may be, but it's really functional. Most brands offer that as well. And then just some professional kitchen options. So getting really big. There's some big space around here, big kitchens. So the thing I like about appliances is the more you spend, it actually functions differently or sometimes like a little bit better, right? So the nice thing about that is because some of these prices triple, right? Like this price point compared to some of those refrigerators I showed you are 3 times more, which is hard to swallow. But they actually have like preservation systems inside of them, which is nice. You're spending money and it's not just for a name, which I like. So this is, again, like a built-in refrigerator, so you'll notice how tall it is. Over here, we've got a pro range, some wall ovens, so what we consider a professional kitchen. And then I do always like to just show here, so fun to put panels on them. So with a lot of our built-in refrigeration, you can actually panel them, so it kind of just goes away. You don't see it here as well. And then a picture of a pro range. Then just a couple trends. So induction is it's not new, but it's come very quickly around because there are a couple different reasons. There's emissions. It's better for emissions. There's a lot of states and counties, like Montgomery County in Maryland is going to allow no more gas as of 2026. Yeah, beginning Jan 1, so that's like next year. It's just new build. So if you have it, you have it. But the biggest thing is like in that pro market, there is never an option for that. So how induction works, and we actually have one working back there if anyone is interested, but it functions the same as gas as far as how quick it is, how, response time, like I want to boil, how do I boil? Go back down. But it is an electric range, so it's a lot, it's similar to that as far as how it looks, but this is kind of what we've had so far. You could get a cooktop or a basic range. These have exploded within the last, I'd say, 18 months. But the biggest thing is it really just depends on what you guys are used to. If you have electric, this is going to function completely different as far as how quickly it works and all of that. It's funny. I now in my life, I have 2 little ones. They want to help me cook, and their hands are like around, we have gas. It stresses me out, right? So I've never considered it, but I'm like, I would love an induction just for safety reasons. So if you are interested in this, there's, here they have a working one, or wherever, there's a ton of videos, but it is a really great option, and just, again, expansion within the category. Color. So this is a fun thing. This is kind of, I would say color has been around, a pop of color. So you might have your range, it's a pop of color or something similar to that. The biggest thing we've seen is GE Cafe, and now KitchenAid is a brand that will have it also. The matte white. I can get this whole suite for like what that one range costs. So it's really giving that other, right? And it's more just like, this is so great. These are great working appliances. It's just that some of these brands just have a higher price, for open burner or higher power. But this has opened up an awesome option for customers where they're not having to spend. I mean, you can get a really nice matte white. So not like the old school white. It's a nice looking color with, trendy finishes on the handle, and just do something a little different for not like a break the bank budget. So we've seen that a ton. And then again, the customization. So again, within GE Cafe, I can choose, do I want different finishes on the appliance and different handles or knobs? So you get to select what you want for your kitchen. Or you really like something a little crazy right now, but you're going to sell it in a few years, and you want to have it be easier on the market for selling, you can revert back to the simple stainless. So just giving customers options where it's not just your stainless range anymore. Drawer microwave, so I mentioned this as well. Microwaves are like, even if we don't use them often, sometimes you still need to pop your popcorn. So often we put them in a pantry. This is a really nice way to have a microwave, but you're not using a lot of your space you may need. So if I wanted to do a built-in microwave, I'd have to have a whole cabinet that I'm losing space on. So these have really come up because you can put them under the counter, and they work just like a regular microwave. But these, again, just more the space-saving option if you don't have a larger pantry for. And then lastly, connectivity. So we kind of touched on this with that digital shower control. If you're into like Wi-Fi option app stuff, it's cool. The thing I like it for is it actually is a good service option. So if I am curious about, like, hey, I went out of town, or and I heard that we lost electricity. Well, how long did we lose it? Because as you guys know, it could be a couple hours, not a big deal. Days is a problem with my food. It'll tell you all that. It also helps, again, like something's wrong with my refrigerator, you can actually call the company, and they can, with the serial number, they can actually see what's wrong with it. So when they send that service tech out, they already know what's wrong with it. They're fixing it a lot quicker. And if it's out of warranty, that's a big deal for price point. And also, I have, laundry, I have mine in the basement, which I don't go in often. And it texts me and tells me when it's done, so I don't forget, and I love that. I will never, and I'm like, okay, now I'm on the app kick. But there's little things that, again, just make your life easier. So that's really in a lot of our appliances. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about lighting. You got a lot of selections to make when you're doing a project, especially all the cabinets and countertops we haven't talked about. The lighting is kind of the fun piece that really ties it all. And it's personal. So you could even have a more transitional look, but you want to go a little more traditional in your lighting. And again, it's your house. You can do whatever you want. It's also the easiest thing to change. So I do feel like people go a little trendier on this because it's easier to swap out a dining room light in a few years if they don't love it anymore. But again, just kind of within trends, and we have a couple slides on it. So a lot of two-tone, a lot of these shaded with the brass accents, linear pendants. So instead of doing 3 pendants, we see a linear. And this globe shape is everywhere right now. All right, before we get to fun stuff, we're going to talk technical. And there's a lot behind the scenes of just like, I like that light. We want to make sure it's going to light your space, right? So biggest thing that I always like to talk about is the word watts and the word lumens. So previously, I'd look at a light bulb and I'd say, okay, that's 100 watts. It's the brightest bulb. Or that's 60 watts. It's the brightest bulb. Until we learned a little bit more, watts only means how much energy it's using, nothing to do with how much output it's doing, right? So I could literally put in a 100-watt light bulb and a 60-watt or a 3-watt LED, and it could give you the same light output, meaning it gives my space the same amount of light. So it's kind of hard just to break that up because we've always understood higher number better. Now we really look at a lumen output. So every single light bulb has a rating on it. The vendors do this to make sure that you can physically find that material. So the goal is usually what's the lowest watt, so lowest energy that I'm putting into my bulbs that I can get the highest output for. And there's a lot of options within that. Color temperature is another big thing. So I got 10 years ago, everyone pretty much said, okay, I like a nice medium warm light for my house. And when they go into hospitals, you think, wow, why is it so blue and very bright in there? Those are different color temperatures. And I have a slide that will show you, but now in our house, we can pick whatever we want. So if we want it to be brighter, like whether that's to match the design or whatever it may be, there are options for us. This is a great chart. So this is what I was telling you about with wattage. So you'll see here our incandescent bulb, your screw-in bulb, looks like a bulb. 60 watts is the same as a 6 to 8 watt LED bulb. Because you'll see here, it's the same light that's actually being generated. And this is our lumen. So that's how they rate how much physical light is being used or coming out of the bulb. So it's kind of cool because I think people just saw this and like, no, that's not as bright as I need it. It's just the output or the electricity being used on the bulb. So just know, a lot of times we're going to recommend an LED, and that's the type of bulb, if you will, the type of light bulb. You can still get the same output you're used to, and we can make sure the color looks good. So if you're like, I think people think LEDs, I don't want this crazy white blue light like I'm in a hospital. They make options now for that. So biggest thing too, if you're like, again, we're okay. This is okay. This is really the highest you can get now in incandescent. But this is, again, very similar as far as the output. This is that color temperature I was telling you about. So I go into a hospital. I feel like it's white and bright and blue. We go by, they call it Kelvin. So that's how they rate the actual temperature of it. So the lower the Kelvin, you'll notice here it says 2700 K. That's a lot, I don't want to say yellowier, but like a lot warmer is the term we like to use. And this is the same exact bathroom in different color temperatures. So you can see how the temperature of the light does change like what your actual bathroom looks like. Because this is the same exact one. So you see a little bit more here. You see a little more blue on the walls. You see a little more green in the walls. The biggest thing too, which is nice, if you are doing recessed cans, we can make sure those match, right? So before, 5-10 years ago, no one paid attention to this. You'd have a really white bulb up there and your vanity light would be more warm, and it just didn't all match. So again, the Kelvin makes a difference, and there are some reasons you go for either one. Again, this really it seems brighter to the eye. Like a lot of those LED mirrors I talked about tend to have a higher Kelvin just because it's the closest to natural outside, if you will. Like, I don't know if you've ever done your makeup, you walk outside, you're like, ooh, okay, yeah, I didn't do it right. And not if you have this, you're pretty much good there. If you're not sure, go buy a couple light bulbs and see at home and see what you prefer, because they're out there for sure. And then lastly, I like to bring this up for the color rendering index. So you might see a light bulb that's $4 for one, or $4 for 5 or 6. They actually also rate the type of light output. So if you'll notice, this is the same picture. This looks a lot more vibrant, and this looks a little more dull. Light bulbs are made a couple different ways, but the higher CRI number is going to be the clearer bulb. That's the price difference there. So I talked about plumbing price differences. It is similar in light bulbs, and this is like, light bulbs do everything. You're walking in your house and you're looking at each other. It makes a difference. So I bring that up because we always want to focus on like a CRI of 90. This is on every box of light bulb you pick up. You'll have the lumens, you'll have the wattage, you'll have your CRI rating. So you probably never looked this hard at a light bulb box before, but there are things going on there that are fair, like they're important, right? And again, I just like to bring it up because like, why is your light bulb $4 and yours? And they all work, they all light it. It's more like, what do you want? What is your eye going to portray? This is a fun thing too. So we talked about LED, and if you're not sure what LED is, it's basically little diodes inside, and that's what the LED is. It's not a bulb, it's a strip of lights. So under cabinet lighting, like if I wanted to put this to illuminate here or under my cabinet in the kitchen, LED is the best because it has the longest life expectancy. I think they say 50,000 hours, which is pretty hard to get to. Previously, when I put this under my cabinet, I would see these little diodes, and it would drive people crazy. So this is the newest thing where it has like a filter on top, so it disperses those. So you get the best light output with the longest longevity, and you don't see those little diodes. It's kind of the only thing new, and I know it's not fun, but it is important. Some of this stuff you're like, yeah, okay, but it really is important.
That's what your designers are for.
Yes, and they know. So we've done I think all of these, right? So they're all up on trends. That's my, working with them is we make sure they kind of, and they have questions they ask us too for some of this stuff. So, and then lastly, just again some trends. Some of these you're like, whoa, who puts that in their house? I agree. This comes from every year they do. They call it Market. So it's all the new lights in Dallas. But I will tell you some of these, even though these look like intense, you'll see those little more globe style that I mentioned on the bathroom lights. So they tend to kind of go throughout. Usually with lighting, we see like a 2-year span. But this necklace pendant is the newest thing.
Okay, I kind of want that. Don't judge me.
Well, it's fun because like lighting, that's your area. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go a little crazy, right? Because it's easy to swap out. And that's why the trends change so much faster than, a cabinet color, a countertop color, all of that. I love these. Modern elegance. So this is where, in general, things are going more transitional, contemporary, just in everything. So I love that people are adding some of these scallops and curves in to bring it back and bring it, not so much, you'll see some traditional influences too. And I think this comes from our brass. You'll notice there's a lot of brass going on in the finishes. Like crystal is back, which it's always been, but even more so with a lot of brass options. And then, just like the fluted shades. This is the biggest one, and this is not going to go away for a while because you've noticed these like organic materials have been around. A lot of I always say this wrong. Is it rattan? Rattan? Rattan. Thank you, everyone. I'm like, I know I'm going to mess this up. I practiced it in the car on the way here, and I still messed it up. Those have been around forever, but I'm talking like 10 years they've been a trend. They're still there. The alabaster and some of those is really what's coming in. It's beautiful. You can get them in the bathroom on some of the shades, on some of the sconces. It's just a really pretty natural add-on. I'm sure they're going to talk through like, the colors and the greens and all that. It all coordinates very well. I got to do the raffle.
Voila.
Stanley Cup, which I have one myself. It's great. A backpack cooler. So like ice and stuff. It's a large size, but it's not very heavy. My 4-year-old tries to wear it and he hasn't knocked him over.
That's the charger,
Oh,
right?
there's a charger. And then an outdoor blanket. And if you don't want to see this, because I don't even want to see Ferguson when I'm out, you can flip it over. And it's still a nice blanket. So kind of like beach or outdoor area.
Okay.
4, 2, 3, 7, 5, 6.
Bingo.
Yay! Here, I'll keep this one. Yeah, the odds are very good right now. I'm winning you're welcome.
So next we're going to kind of talk about finding the right countertop for you. So there's a lot of different options for countertops. Where mostly you have quartz, porcelain, granite, quartzite, marble, wood block, butcher block, stainless steel. So there's a lot of different options. And then of course, so those popular ones, and you have concrete, soapstone. So we're really going to go over the quartz, the upper ones, and I'll have some samples we can kind of look at and really talk about the benefits, pros and cons for each one, and why you might want to consider one over the other. So we look at quartz. It's a nice engineered stone. It's going to be a natural quartz mixed with resin. It's non-porous. So it's great with stains. It's not going to stain. It's easy to clean. I think it's probably one of our most popular countertop options because of that. It's low maintenance. It's antimicrobial. You don't have to worry about bacteria. And they have a lot of design styles that mimics your natural stone without the upkeep. You'll have some veining going through. You can have some more subtle looks to it. I do have some samples here. This is more of a nice subtle polished look. So you have some slight veining going through. And then we do also have, if you want same same countertop, but more of a matte finish. You can kind of see the two together. The matte gives you a little bit more of that darker color tone to it. The polish is a little bit more brighter. Polish, you know, some pros and cons with this. The matte kind of hides more of your scratches on it, and some of the dirt kind of keeps it a little bit more of a rougher look to it. The polish gives you the nice kind of gleam to it. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Thanks, Julia. For that. Some cons with quartz though is that you can't put like your hot pan can't just go rusted on it. It's gonna burn it. Other thing with quartz, you can't be out, like can't UV rays can stain it or yellow it over time, so it can't be outdoors. But still nice, you know, kitchen area, bathrooms. It's a great option for you. Another option would be porcelain. So with porcelain, it is very nice and strong and durable too. The slab for a porcelain is about 2 centimeters, so it's a little bit more of a thinner slab versus some other countertops to it. It also mimics a natural stone. We have some porcelain options here. So you can see that nice strong veining going through here. What's great about porcelain too is since it's fired at such high temperatures that it can withstand high heat. So if you do put like your hot pan on it, it's not gonna burn it or destroy the material. But since you can see it's a little bit thinner tone to it, so when fabricating a porcelain, like cutting out your sinks, cooktops, it really requires special technique to it, which kind of makes it a little bit more labor intensive, which makes it a little bit more expensive too. Another thing to think about with porcelain, it's not dyed throughout the whole way. So if you have ends, it can chip because it's so thin. That's some of the cons with porcelain too, but it's a very pretty product. Thank you. Granite is another one, a very popular one too. So a nice natural stone with granite, you have one-of-a-kind kind of pieces. You have dramatic veining going through, patterns very to
heavy,
it.
Very heavy.
Oh, switch to this one, this quartzite.
This one?
Yeah.
Turn up this one?
Sorry. I'm gonna flip this here for a second.
Okay.
So with it, it's great, hard material. It's it's heavy. But it's not easy to scratch. It's going to last you a long time. The only thing with granite, it is porous, so you do need to seal it. They recommend about 1 to 3 years or so you want to seal it to make sure that you protect it for bacteria. It can scratch over time. But it's a nice hardy surface. A lot of beautiful color tones to it. This is a polished version here, and then you have a nice leathered version. I'll put that right here. Right here, that gives that unique kind of rustic appearance to it. So it's more textured look to it, but very, very nice. So you have a lot of options with granite, like that dramatic kind of look to it. The only thing with granite too is you never know what the actual slab will look like. So when you are selecting it, you want to go pick out your slab, and that would be the slab that you would chose for your countertops. And the next one we have is marble. Marble is timeless, it's very luxurious, but being marble, it's very soft. So it's prone to stains or etching. So you do want to seal it, but even if it is sealed, if you have something that acidic like or high pH onto it, it can stain it. So you just want to make sure that you're cleaning it very carefully, and if you do spill something on it, make sure to wipe it out right away. I don't have a marble sample, but and then another option we have too is very similar to marble. It's quartzite. It's a little bit more harder surface, but the color, the pattern tones kind of mix it. So this is a quartzite, that's blue fusion here. But it has really beautiful patterns to it too. It is a nice hard stone like granite, very similar to that. You do have to seal it as well. Again, 1 to 3 years or so is what you want to kind of seal that with. The other thing with quartzite too, it is, since it's so hard, fabricating or when you're cutting out like your sinks, kind of like porcelain, it does require special tools. It can be a little bit fragile in that regards, which of course is a little bit more labor intensive for that. And then the wood blocks. And then the next option we have are the wood blocks, wood butcher blocks, which wood always offers a nice natural aesthetic warmness to the kitchen. So here we have like a maple mahogany, which has a nice flat grain to it. But it has a very nice soft feature, especially with your mixing with your countertops. It gives a nice different element to it. And then here is more of an edge grain, where you see more of that edging of the wood that kind of goes through there here. But with wood, does require some maintenance. So you do want to make sure this is properly sealed as well. Wood mixed with humidity can split or expand and contract over time. So just a little bit more upkeep with this, but it has a really beautiful look to it. The nice thing about wood too is that if you do have scratches or dents, you can always sand it down and then restain and reseal too as well. So another option we have is stainless steel. Gives you that very nice, sleek, industrial, modern look to it. You can have a polished stainless steel, or you can do more of a matte finish. With stainless steel, that you will see like some fingerprints and things like that, kind of like your refrigerator, to keep in mind. Also, it can show some scratches too, so those are kind of things to consider. And then, other options you could have for soapstone or laminate. In concrete too, they're not quite as popular, but those are some other countertop options you can look at too. So this just kind of goes over the different type of edges that you could have or choose. So when you're kind of selecting your countertop, what type of edging you'd want to have on that. If you want your standard with just like an ease roll to it, you want something a little bit more elaborate like an OG, or you can do like a nice shark nose, something like that. But those are the things that we would kind of select through in your countertop and pick what edge would work better for you. And then this just talks about more of the common countertop issues that we talked about briefly. So like heat damage. So definitely like quartz, you don't want to put something hot on there. You want to make sure you have it protected, even with marble too as well. And even like with granite, you can put it on there, but it's not always recommended. You want to do like a trivet or something to place on top just to protect your countertops. And then discoloration, like staining, a lot of the porous natural stone, you just want to make sure we keep that sealed over time. And then if you have anything like marble, you want to make sure, or quartzite, you clean up right away because that can happen. So beyond the countertops, the countertop material is used in lots of different ways. You can have them as unique accent pieces of like your backsplash. You can have a nice waterfall edge here on your islands. Some of the countertops that you can use outdoors, like quartzite could be one of those you could use outdoors, or the porcelain is a great option too as well. Or we can do like a nice floating vanity here with a wood top. So it's mostly you just see the countertop and then a little bit of like the kitchen. So really unique accent pieces within the kitchen that kind of give that pop in the kitchen for you. So here is a kitchen we did. You can see this, that's the mahogany wood that we had here on this kitchen island. And we paired it with a quartz. Actually, that quartz sample you saw over there is what we kind of paired it with together. And then to kind of bring it in here, we have a little bit of that wood piece underneath the farmhouse sink. But as you see, it just adds that nice touch of warmthness to it, and it kind of helps bring, gives a nice warmth to the kitchen here. And then here is another edge grain we have for the wood top for the butcher block on the island there. And then we paired that with Cambria's quartz. So what's nice is quartz, you got a lot of different patterns. You can have something that's a little bit more of a smaller, a little bit more colorful, or you can go more sleek white with a slight veining into it. So. And here's another kitchen. Sometimes this is another quartz with that dramatic veining. Those are great for accent pieces, especially in the island, if you want just some pattern to it, but maybe not so much. And we pair it with like a little bit more of a subtle quartz over here in that gray color tone to it. So you have a lot of different options, and really the best way to choose is what really fits your lifestyle. You know, how much maintenance do you want to have with your countertop? If you want it nice and easy, you know, quartz I think is a great way. That's why I think a lot of clients are going that direction. You have a lot of great patterns you can pick and choose from. But yeah. And Julia.
So we're going to talk about essentials for cabinetry. There is so much product in cabinetry, so we're gonna really hit on the highlights today, and then a few extra things. And any questions you have, happy to answer. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with talking about wood finishes. So there are different manufacturers that carry different types of wood finishes. Some don't carry all of these, but this is typical of what you can find in the market. Some of them are more special than other woods. This is a really great example that one of our manufacturers called Crystal did at their showroom. They had this big plate glass window, and they put these different woods up, and they covered the bottom section. This was about 5 weeks in sometimes intense sun. So you can see how wood can be impacted by sunlight. Have you ever had like a carpet in your house with a wood floor and you pick the rug up and you can see an outline? Same kind of thing. So what you'll notice here is most woods get lighter when they're exposed to sun over time, but there are a couple here that get darker. Specifically cherry. So you can see it's lighter originally, much darker here after it's been exposed to sun. And it looks like maple gets a little bit darker too, but not nearly as dramatic as cherry does. So it's very important, like if you are investing in a really expensive wood like walnut, you don't want it right in front of a window. You have to be careful about it, because we've even seen this almost white out. It's actually in the Crystal showroom. It almost completely whites out. So in this picture here, it talks about finishing. Starts unfinished, stain, and there's a seal and a top coat. So different companies might have many different options for top coat. So when you're working with a designer, they'll go through the options with you. So when you're getting a wood door, and when you're getting stain, it's typically a solid wood door, completely solid. If you are getting paint, you may get some wood product, and you may get some what we call MDF in the same thing. So I'm going to pass around. I'll pass a few of these around while we're chatting. So here's some wood samples, and these start with different woods. So this is cherry, beech, and oak, and they have different finishes. So different wood species also take stain differently too. So we'll start over here. These are typical of the samples that you would see when you're working with us or with one of the designers here. And this is an example of some paint finishes. So you'll see that this material may be wood, but these are all wood samples. But you may also find that a lot of painted cabinets will have some MDF in it, and that is because it's very, very smooth. It doesn't show wood grain, and it takes paint very well. So this is a stained cabinet. So this is completely solid wood. It has a raised panel, but what you'll notice here is where you have seams, the grain changes, and what you may not notice is at different times of the year, these seams may open up and get wider. They may expand, but because it's stained, you don't really notice it that much. This is a painted door. Now this one, I believe this is a wood frame. So typically when there is wood involved in the painted finish, it's typically what we call paint grade maple. Very smooth, takes paint very well. The center is MDF. Because it's very thin and flat, they don't use solid wood here because it will warp. It won't stay structurally sound. If this was a wood door and it looked this thin on the front, it typically would have what we call a reverse panel on the back, which is thicker, so that it would be stable. But what I also wanted to point out here, and it's when you get the sample, you can see it. When you have a painted door, the paint is sitting on the surface of the wood here. So over time, with exposure to heat and cool, like a whole year season, the joints may expand and contract. You might get what we call these little hairline fractures along the paint where the seams are. It's not considered a defect. It's just because the paint is sitting on the surface versus a stained cabinet, which is absorbed into it. Here you go. So you'll see up here a small hairline, and you might see them over time. Nobody notices them until it's your own kitchen. When you get a new kitchen, that's when you notice it. But they're on every door sample here in our showroom. So this is just sort of a nice grouping of typical colors that would be available. You'll typically see many shades of white, a few shades of blue. Greens are more popular today. You'll always see some shades of gray and some black. And every manufacturer has different color ranges. So we represent a few different companies here. We share all of that with you, but typically people will pick the color or the stain they like best, and that's usually the line that they go with. Okay, so we're going to talk about construction. There are different types of construction. This is called frameless. So when you look at this drawing here, you have sides, a top, and a bottom. There's no face frame on it, like an extra piece of wood. The doors to this cabinet are attached to the sides. That's called frameless. This one is framed, so you're looking at the same drawing, but now you see this frame that goes around it. That is on the face. And so the doors are attached to the face frame. These are a little more structural, but these have come a long way. They do give you a little bit more space inside. And then this is called inset, where the door actually sits inside of this face frame. So I'm going to show you a few of those. So this is the frameless right here. Now, this is just showing you the doors. So this would actually, there'd be a panel right here on the side, and this door would be attached to the side of the panel. Usually on frameless, the reveal between doors and drawers is much tighter, closer together, has a more seamless look. We have a lot of great examples here, so if you're interested, you can walk around, look at them, and one of us can review it with you too. This is a little heavy. Do you want to, I don't know if anybody wants to take a look at it. If it's, you can just set it. Yeah, the next one is very heavy. So this is the frame that actually would sit on the front edge of the side of the frame of the cabinet, but the door is basically recessed into that frame. It's a particular look, so it depends if this is a look that you're looking for. Yeah, this is a heavy door because this is MDF, and so let me just set this here for a second. It's a medium density fiberboard, and what it is, it's wood with resin and wax, and it's made through a heated and pressure process. So it makes it very, very, very dense. It's not particularly water resistant, so you need to make sure that you are always wiping your counters off, your cabinets off. But it does provide for some nice features. There are no seams here, like where we had talked about the other ones where there's seams in the wood and you can get some small fracturing. You don't get that with these type of doors. And they're heavy because of the way they're made. This is an example of the framed cabinet, which is the second one in the middle. So there you have the box of the cabinet, and then you have this face frame that's attached, which is what this piece is that goes all the way around it. This is the face frame, and then the doors are attached to that. So you'll notice this reveal right here is a little bit wider than the frameless one that I showed you. It was a little bit tighter. This is what is more typically sold today, but people are buying more of the frameless as well. Frameless takes a little bit more design effort. Spacing is critical, and not all trims are available in frameless. It depends on the type of material that you're using. Okay. And while we don't have them up there, I wanted to show you a couple other things just to let you know that it's available. Special finishes, like this is actually a laminate. This is attached, like a heat process attached to the door, has a very glossy finish. Usually you'll see that in like what we call a slab door. one with not a lot of dimension to it. And this is also a wood look in a laminate finish. And they make all kinds of products in laminate. They can make it look like rift cut oak, or lots of different types of wood and painted species. There's a lot involved in cabinetry, and when a designer's working with you, they'll look at what you have now, talk to you about how that works for you, what you might want to do different, and really review all the options with you. So we're going to show you a few photos. This is a project that Diane did. This is a frameless cabinet. So you can see it's a very sleek look. It's what we call a slab door. The seams between the cabinets and the doors is very small. Yeah, very, very sleek, clean look to the kitchen. And this is is that a blue or a gray?
Yeah, it's a blue at the bottom and the gray on the
Gray up top. This is a wood door, completely wood door. And see how the panel in the front is flat? But when you open this, you can see, if you can see it, I'll open this one too. There's another, the panel on the inside is what we call raised. So it's thicker, and that's because that's solid wood. In order for that to be solid wood, that panel has to be thicker. But they wanted it to be flat in the front. So to achieve a wood door with a flat panel, that center section is thicker, and they make the thickness goes to the back of the door. In this case, sometimes it'll be cut to the front too, depending on the door style. This is an example of the face frame. We also refer to it as full overlay, where there's actually, you see a bit of it here. The drawers do cover the majority of that face frame, but this is a traditional kitchen, but this happens to be a more traditional application with the face frame. This is inset. So you see how this drawer is sitting inside of this frame? So that's inset. And then when you do inset, you can add extra details, like there's a little beaded edge that goes around this frame as well. And then we'll talk about some extra things, neat features with doors that you can do. You can do, recently worked on a kitchen that has push touch. The client had some hardware in the kitchen, but not every cabinet, like we did a dining room wall, they didn't want to see all that hardware. So we added what's called a touch latch. So you basically push it and it'll pop open. So that's another option for hardware. And then you also can get options like this where it can be a horizontal cabinet where the door can open in multiple different ways. It can tip up, it can come out and raise. And if you do something like this, it needs to be off of the ceiling so it doesn't hit the ceiling. We actually have an example of that in this little gray kitchen right next to us. And accessories. So today there's just so many more accessories available. These are examples of trash cans. You can get them with 1 can or 2 cans, depending on the size. Typically, we would have a shelf in here, like if you have a drawer here above it. That's called a base drop barrier. So it's just a installed shelf in between that's stationary, so that there's no, it doesn't really transfer the odor from the trash to maybe if you have silverware there or something. You can also get neat accessories like this with paper towels inside of them, a location to do that. And then these are very popular little pull-outs. They come in different widths, 9, 12, or 15. They have containers in them. Some of them have a space for a knife block, and you could put these like next to your range or something, so you can put all your ladles and cooking tools away. This is like a style for storing trays inside of it. This would just be a cabinet that has shelves in it, so you can maybe put spices or bottles of oil or things that you access for cooking. Here's another option for a paper towel, and this is a dedicated knife block, and that's like for a dry towel. So this is just a small example. And when you're working with one of the designers here, when you're in kitchen design, they're going to kind of walk through the layout with you and talk about what accessories you would like to have, where you want to store things so that it's designed and built specifically to your needs. So some other really neat things. This is like a back pantry, and this can be designed where it looks like a cabinet when you close it, but it's really a door that you open and you can walk through. And then you can also get something like this. So typically when you have a cabinet, you're going to have a frame at the bottom down here, but these are designed so that they operate more like doors, so you could get stackable washer and dryer as well if you wanted to enclose it in cabinetry. Here you can see a custom feature where this was designed to go around this soffit at the top. And those dreaded corners in our kitchens, some people love, some people absolutely hate them. So this is what we call blind corner. If you have an older kitchen, you may have a blind corner that you have to get down on your hands and knees and crawl. And you put something back there and you haven't seen it for 20 years, you know. So they do make accessories for blind corners. We actually have one in the back right corner where you have to have a little bit of extra space for the doors to open, but you can get accessories that can go inside of them. And this is an alternative option to a Lazy Susan. Typically in corners you'll see a door that kind of folds out with two doors together, and there's a spinning component there. You can also get drawers. Not every manufacturer offers this, so if this is something you want, you would want to make sure that that company offered it. And then some other things that could be kind of nice that a lot of the companies offer are floating shelves. If you want to incorporate floating shelves, they come with different hardware to support them. Sometimes we have to add additional support for shelves. And then this particular company actually has like a metal shelf with wood shelves applied. Thanks so much.
All right, hello everyone. My name's Diane Marciano, and I will be going over flooring. So picking the right floor, right? There's so many options. So I'll be covering hardwood floor, pre-finish floor, pre-finish hardwood, engineer hardwood, and you're wondering, oh my God, already 3 options. How do I choose which one? Then there's laminate and final luxury plank, which is also known as LVP, and you're like, well, what's the difference between those two? And then there's carpet. So these are the ones I will be covering, and the goal is to kind of give you a foundation of it and be able to see, you know, pros and cons of having them as well, and getting the right selection for your home, for your wants, your needs that you're trying to meet. Okay. All right, so what do we have to start with is hardwood. So who likes hardwood in here? Yeah. Yeah. It's the favorite, right? It's timeless. Yeah, it's beautiful. You can refinish it, you know, multiple times as well. But not a lot of people know that when you have 2 different woods coming from the same wood, it can be different. And what that is caused by is the grades of woods. So what does that mean? Essentially, there's different characteristics of grades. So there's grade 1, 2, and 3. You have grade 1, which is select, also known as better, and that's a more uniform look. You see very minimal knots, and it's also your most expensive, right? And think about this as more modern, okay? Then you have your common or natural. That's like the in-between. You'll see a little bit more of the knots, but it's a balance between the two. And this is more of a common traditional kind of a look style. And then you have your rustic, right? And that's, you're gonna see the knots, the wormholes. You're gonna see all the characteristics, the variation in all of the different wood planks. Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna circle back to refinishing multiple times. So your hardwood can last you for 50 to 100 years, and you can refinish it anywhere from 5, 7, you know, a long time, because it's a thicker, solid piece of wood that you can sand. Now, typically for us, we normally sand and stain with a polyurethane, and there's 2 types. So And it's the top coat. So you'll have a different, color stain, but you also have the top coat, and the top coat is to help last a long time. And so you have your oil base, and then you have your water base, okay? And there's a couple of things to know between the two. All right, so the oil base is something that's going to help last your flooring longer time. However, when you do have that stain, we always tell the clients that you're going to need to stay out of the house for a period of time. So depending on how much square footage we're doing, how much we need to do, if it's going to be the whole floor, because it does give out smell. It has an odor to it, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But what you get from it is a really long, durable stain that's going to have, it does give you more of a amber look. It can also give you more like a golden kind of finish over time too. So if that's something you're really looking for, that might be the better option. Just know that during construction, that might be a time you won't be allowed in the house. Then there's the water-based, right? So it gives you more of a natural finish. And another way to look at it is with oil-based, think of like a leather jacket. You got to take care of it, and it's, it takes a long time to kind of dry if you get it wet or anything like that. But with water-based, think of it like a rain jacket. It's really quick to dry, and so when you do the layers of coating, it's only about 2 to 4 hours to dry for the layer. So it may be done in the morning, and by the end of the day, you can come back and be able to walk on your floors. So something to keep in mind when looking at the options to restaining and refinishing that top coat, just to help last a little longer. Other things to consider. So you do have, so if you're thinking of having hardwood in a kitchen, for instance, or in a bathroom, I know the biggest thing right now is having a first floor primary, 0 threshold, and so you might want to have that hardwood coat throughout your home. And so something to think about if you're having it in the kitchen, there's a dishwasher, right? So if there is ever, sometimes that the dishwasher goes wrong because water goes everywhere. So you want to make sure to be able to clean it immediately, so that way it doesn't cause damage to your hardwood floor. Again, ways around it, we can fix it. We can get, all the hardwood out, too thin, restain and sand. But just something to think about, and it goes the same way with the bathroom, and you have the toilet with the hardwood, okay? As far as plank sizes, usually they're more the narrow ones that are common. You have your 3-inch, 4-inch sizes. Anywhere you go up, like you can have a 10-inch wide solid wood, it's a lot more expensive. So there's other alternatives as I'll go over in a few more slides, okay? But this is kind of just giving you an overview, quick introduction to giving you the hardwood flooring. Then you have the option to have pre-finished hardwood floor. So it's still your solid wood, but it's actually factory finish. So the nice thing about this option is that when we're ready to get it installed in your home, it's a little bit less time, right? Because we don't need a sand and stain. So that's always, a great alternative. You don't need to step out of the house. You can be able to walk in your home fairly within a couple of hours. So this is kind of giving you another great option, but not having to wait for certain things to get installed. Then you have your engineered wood. So this is another alternative essentially for your, let me go back real quick. Pre-finished wood, I do have a sample, so you'll see that this is, I'll pass it this way. So that's your factory finish, and then the rest is your solid wood. And you can, sometimes clients ask if you can resand a pre-finish coming from the factory. You can. It really depends on the manufacturer, but you have a couple, it's your solid wood, and you can restain and resand. So engineer wood, so I have a sample of that here. This is a maple. So your top layer is your engineer wood. And this gives a great option when a client wants a wider plank, but is wanting to save money instead of paying for a 10-inch solid wood. So what it is that the top layer is your solid wood, and depending on the manufacturer, the layers underneath it is your OSB, your plywood, or CLT. That is at the bottom, which is great option if you love hardwood and want it in your basement. This could be an alternative that you can have down in the basement, because it's your solid wood on top and you have more of a breathable portion that's hitting the actual concrete. So if you're wanting it in a condo, for example, those normally the higher risers you're up, you have more of the concrete slab. This is another alternative that you can have in a condo. So I'm going to pass this one around as well. And there's different ways to install it. So you have your floating, your glue, and your nail, and just depending on which one and what manufacturer we're using, we would look at the guidelines of how we would install that for you. Okay, so now we dive into laminate. So what is laminate, right? It's a multi-layer synthetic flooring product designed to mimic your hardwood, and you have some stone and tile as well that it mimics. And the biggest thing between comparing the laminate and the LVP is that LVP is moist resistant and laminate isn't. Another thing is you cannot sand laminate, right? It's gonna be that one layer, and it's usually thinner. Sometimes they have a backing to it, and this could be installed as a floating or as glue, just depending on what the manufacturer standards are for that particular one. But it does give you the idea of having, it look like hardwood and not have to pay for the price of the hardwood. Okay, then you have your LVP, right? So this is big on trend. A lot of people are navigating, towards it. They really like how it looks. I have a sample. So actually, we have this installed in our kitchen right behind over here in more of a herringbone style. So you can, take a look at it. But this is an example of, of the LVP. And you can see the layers here. So it has a UV coating, wear layer, a pattern layer, and maintain the PVC body, and then the PVC backing. And some have more like a bamboo backing or like a quart backing to it. So they're all different, but you can put these below grade, so you can have it in the basement installed. These are also a great option to have. Again, thinking of not having no transitions if you go in the basement and maybe go into the bathroom and have the LVP, that is an option that you could do. Nothing is ever really scratch resistant or waterproof, but it does help easier to clean if you have something that falls. So it's recommended to clean to clean it up, so that way it doesn't go through the seams. But you do have like a lock system for the LVP, as you can see probably in the sample on the side there. And in our back room in the tile, I'm not sure when you walked, we do have a material room in the back here where we have a lot of these different samples. Okay, and then there's carpet. So in any of these, you can, like we've been talking about, you can really spend like hours talking about each of the things. And so I'm trying to really give you an overview and just try to give that foundation. But biggest thing with carpet, a lot of people like because of the warmth, right? So you sometimes see it more in the bedrooms. And so it gives you that more warmth. It helps with sound absorption. So we actually added there's a project going on right now that we added another floor, and there's going to be a bedroom upstairs, and then there's bedrooms below. And so the son's going to be living, upstairs, and she's going to have more of that main level. And he's a teenager, so he has his friends over. He makes a lot of noise, and so she wanted to have carpet to help. In addition to that, in the floor joist, we also added 2 layers of rock wool to help. Now, you can get something to be soundproof, but then it's very expensive, and there are options to do that. But this was another alternative way to kind of help with sound. However, if you have allergies, it is not a great option. So just something to keep in mind when looking at the different options. And again, there are different piles: low, medium, high, Berber, pattern, texture. So just to kind of give a quick overview on it. And when we're looking at side-by-side comparison, really just know, your hardwood is going to be, your higher end, but it's going to last you, a long time, 50, 100 years, restain it. LVP, more of your 15 to 20 year mark line that it can last you. And then you have your carpet that can last you maybe 5, 10, 15 years, just depending on which quality you choose from. Here's more like expert tips. So just giving you a little bit more of knowing when you're picking the right one for you. Think of your lifestyle. Also think of what you have. If you have hardwood throughout your whole first floor, and you are taking a wall down, right? And you're trying to figure out, well, do I go with, tile, or do I go with hardwood? And depending on, what type of hardwood you have installed, that might be an indicator of what is the option to do for your new kitchen, So those are also things to consider as well. But you can talk to any of us, and we can guide you on what might be the right one for you. Okay, so this is an example. This was actually a hallway here, and this was a pre-finished hardwood, and she had extra boxes, and so we were able to fill in, but she wanted to have a 6-foot turning radius, essentially, to be able to access the rooms and her office, because she's utilizing a wheelchair. And so we ended up making that hallway wider, and then figuring out, luckily it worked out that we can tooth in, and it pretty much had a clear transition. With this one here, we're showing 3 different options. So this is a basement. This was Julia's project, and this is the LVP. This is actually hardwood stair treads, and then this is the carpet. Now, LVP has come a long way. Now you can actually get LVP treads, so these can actually match exact. But of course, that we would still need to stain your railing and post to match to your flooring. And then this last one I have here, this was Chris' project. This was also LVP, and it was mimicking more of that like rustic wood finish match.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm your tile Sherpa for the day. In answer to one of your questions, the printed tiles are really trendy right now. They're great. They're lovely in a powder room or a laundry room, a space that if you had to, retile because it was too trendy or you got tired of it, it's not the end of the world. Stuff like this kind of carried throughout, not so much. There are different types of tile: ceramic, porcelain, natural stone, and then some miscellaneous. I'm talking about flooring, but tile obviously can go on the wall as well. So things like the glass, the metal, and the shell, we wouldn't be putting on the floor. We'd be putting those on the wall. The things to consider obviously is your budget, what your maintenance tolerances are, because some things like natural stone require sealing and require using a pH neutral cleaner. And that's where people get a lot of challenges when you install beautiful marble tile in your bathroom, and your lovely housekeeper uses bleach on it. Natural stone is a mineral, so it reacts with the cleaners. So pH neutral is water. Anything that's too alkaline or too acidic can react with the minerals in the tile and cause it to pit or stain. This is what David was just talking about. So this is the Schluter system that we use. I have a sample to pass around. This is the Ditra Heat. The Ditra uncoupling membrane is more of like a waffle. It's still that orange membrane. And so this just shows you have subfloor, thin set that attaches the membrane. Sorry if I'm lasering somebody. I am. We're just gonna put you over there for right now. And then the wires, this is what actually heats the floor, another layer of thin set, and then your tile on top. With Ditra XL, you can use this as a waterproofing and an uncoupling membrane on the whole floor and only run the wires in certain spots. So you don't have to heat the whole floor. You can heat just in front of the vanity where you stand and just in front of the toilet where your feet sit. We certainly don't put it under the vanities, for example. This is actually pretty cool stuff to look at. All of our bathrooms are done that way, or anywhere we install tile that has a water component, so laundry rooms as well. This is just a diagram explaining exactly what that physical sample is explaining. This is a little bit of a map of what the Curdy system looks like in a shower. So not a curbless, this has a curb. This is the Curdy membrane that David mentioned that goes on the wall, and it's completely waterproof as well. There's tape that joins all the seams. So this essentially creates a seamless waterproof barrier behind the tile. And used to be that you would install tile on cement board, put thin set, grout, and tile, and that's theoretically not waterproof. The tile obviously isn't going to let water through, but any place where the grout cracks, eventually water is going to work its way back there. And so that's what a lot of times we'll see when we demolish a bathroom is there's a little bit of rot behind there, or there's mold, because that really wasn't 100% waterproof. First tile we'll talk about is ceramic. Ceramic's made by a mineral clay. It's compressed and it's baked. It's a little bit lighter weight than porcelain is because it has different minerals in the clay which allow it to be compressed at a different pressure. Ceramic tile is kind of the traditional tile. It's the thing that the saltillo tiles, that sort of thing, are an example of that. Typically, and not exclusively, but if you see a tile that's got the terracotta body, that's usually a ceramic tile. Ceramic tiles are fine for floors under certain circumstances, and all tiles will have, the manufacturers will have information about where it's appropriate to use. More than likely, though, ceramic is best on the walls. I don't love to use it on the floors, even if it's rated for that. I did want to pass both of these around. I'll talk about the porcelain in a minute. These are approximately the same size tiles, and you can feel the difference in weight between these two. So this one's ceramic, that one's porcelain. With ceramic tile, because it's lightweight, it's nice on the walls sometimes. It's fine for backsplashes and shower walls. It's an easy installation. That's the kind of tile that you can use a score and snap to cut. You cannot do that with porcelain. And it's usually less expensive. You can often get kind of more interesting patterns with that, because if you press it into a mold that's got a texture to it, it will take that way. With porcelain tile, which is our next item, it's compressed under a great deal of pressure. So the mineral clay that they use to make porcelain tile usually contains feldspar, which is what makes granite really hard. So they can put greater PSI, forces more air bubbles out, which is why that's heavier, and you can fire it at a greater temperature. So it's a more durable product. It can actually be used outdoors. It can be used on the sides of buildings. The real reason for that is because it's not as porous, water doesn't get into it, and outside we have the freeze-thaw cycle, and so if you have water in your tile and it freezes it, it'll expand and crack your tile. Porcelain's pretty bulletproof. It's non-porous. They can do it in great big sheets. In fact, we're seeing it, I don't even know what the limit on the size is anymore. We can do shower walls that are seamless with porcelain. They're doing great big sheets now. The way that they get the patterns onto porcelain tile is with high resolution laser printers. So you can get a really realistic looking marble porcelain tile. It's sort of endless. It's you know, whatever you can come up with. It can be more expensive. You've got to use a wet saw with a diamond blade to cut it because it's harder. That's our problem, not your problem, but it is something to think about. It does you know, increase the cost because there's a little bit more labor in that. And then the other thing that we can do with porcelain tile is you can do a rectified edge. So that means that after the tile is cooked, the edges are planed and they're 90 degrees. So you can put the tiles very close together. With ceramic tiles, because they're more like chocolate chip cookies, when you bake them, they shrink and swell a little bit different sizes, so they're not perfect. And so you've got to leave a little bit bigger gap between the tiles to accommodate for the slightly more irregular. In both situations, you're going to fill that with grout. And grout is a real hot topic for a lot of folks because it's the place where you get the mold and the, you know, the discoloration. All of the grout that we use has a sealer through the body of the grout. So that means it's not going to stain. You're not going to apply something to the top. The whole hunk of grout that dries in there is actually stain resistant. The thing to remember though is that does not mean that it is self-cleaning. You know, there's still a little bit of a divot and dust will accumulate and you do have to clean it. Grout, just like natural stone, you want to be really careful about using a pH neutral cleaner. It is a mineral based item and you don't want bleach in particular. That's what everyone tries to use to get the mildew stains out. It reacts with the grout. It can actually make the problem worse. It can yellow your grout. So when I'm saying pH neutral, there's all kinds of things on the market, specific tile cleaners, grout cleaners, countertop cleaners. Honestly, a little bit of Dawn and a bottle of water, that is pH neutral. So that works really well. You don't have to have anything like crazy to scrub things, but the pH of what you're using is more important. Even like vinegar, which is, you know, a natural product, that is very high. Thank you. I was trying to remember if it was acidic or basic, but acidic. So that's going to etch that sort of stuff. With porcelain tile, like I said, we can do really large formats. The through body, it's either the color of the surface is all the way through the tile, or they'll tint the clay to be as close to the top of the tile as possible. So if it chips, that little blue tile that we sent around, that ceramic tile, had a little chip on the side and you could see the terracotta coming through because it's not the same color as the top. So with the porcelain tile, you can sort of hedge your bets on that, where if there is a chip, at least it's the same color and it can be buffed a little bit to smooth that edge. For outdoor use, we typically use, if you're going to raise it up and actually use it as a paver, you can do that. You can apply it to a concrete slab. There's certain parameters and certain materials that we have to adhere to make that work in our area, but it is a good option. Not many people know that. And then the larger formats, again, that can be countertops. There's a really pretty fabricated one kind of in the back, and it can be the sides of buildings if you want it to be. Great for showers as well. Natural stone, I'm not going to delve too deeply because Kara talked about it as well, but natural stone can be tile. It is unique. Every piece is special because it comes out of the earth. Every piece is going to be entirely different. That can also be a con. If you want something that's very uniform, it's not a good choice for you. It's natural. Some people really enjoy the idea that it's something that is from the earth. And it looks pretty luxurious, so that's another pro to it. You do have to have the right installer. Whoever installs it needs to know what they're doing. You have to know the material that you're using. So there are some marbles, for example, that are very pale and very translucent. And if you use a trowel to run the thin set that has the grooves in it, like that Dietra sample did, those lines can telegraph through the material. So you have to have somebody who knows that you put a smooth layer behind it so that it adheres without showing you those lines. It can be expensive to install because you do have to use a diamond blade, you have to back butter, which is what I was just talking about, the tiles to not telegraph lines through it, and you absolutely must seal it. You're going to seal it, and you're going to seal it again, just like you would with a countertop. Same thing with the cleaner. You want to make sure that you're using the appropriate thing on it, because this more than anything can react to the wrong cleaner. Button is not happy. This is more for walls, but there are a lot of different materials that are interesting and can give you a little bit of bang for your buck. This is a piece of marble, so natural stone. This one is actually a pretty translucent one, so that would be one that you'd be careful about the thin set that you'd be putting on it. This is mother of pearl. Gives you some just very cool sparkle. It's a really thin tile, so you're going to build up behind it so that it's flush with the face of whatever the tile adjacent to it is. It scratches really easily. It's kind of best used as a little accent piece. You're going to seal that too. And you can do very cool metal tiles, glass tiles, and all of these will have the same issues. You're going to want to seal them all, and you're going to want to use them in places that aren't going to have heavy traffic. This is another kind of specialty that sort of straddles the things. It is natural stone, but it's also, yeah. Other thing to consider is how you're going to end your tile. Again, more on the walls. The floors, it's going to be a transition. Something to think about if you're doing hardwood floor and then going to tile. You're going to have a little bit more material under the tile. The tile may be thicker. You've got to have your subfloor, your thin set, your Dietra, your thin set, and then your material. So it's likely going to be a little thicker than the floor adjacent to it. So there'll be a transition that you'll use to ease the way down. Bullnose is a traditional piece of tile that's rounded over. It's what you typically see in older bathrooms. Schluter, which is a delightful product, Curdy and Dietra that we've talked about. Schluter is the edge piece that goes with that. It sits under the tile, it sits in the thin set, and then caps the end of the tile. So on a shower wall, for example, your tile ends, you're going to have a metal piece or a PVC piece that disguises the edge of the tile. And then the other thing, a lot of tile, particularly natural stone, will have moldings that are out of the same material that give you a chair rail look or a little bit more elaborate finish edge. Again, I can't make this thing work when I want to. This particular bathroom has a wood look tile on the floor. There are a lot of iterations up. When you came in, that floor in the foyer is a wood look tile. There's a couple others throughout the showroom. You still have grout joints between them, so it doesn't look exactly like wood, but it gives you that look. And you can carry that straight into the shower. This one is a, was this porcelain, Julia, or was this?
It was porcelain.
So this is a porcelain tile that actually the tile was 4 pieces with little score lines in it that are put together and then grouted with black grout that kind of unified everything, but that gives you the look of a natural stone. That's a great example of how porcelain can really mimic natural stone, but not have some of the same challenges as actual natural stone. And this is a backsplash. So this would be a ceramic tile. Kind of a nice handmade look. You can manipulate how the overall look appears based on just the selection of pattern. So this is a simple subway tile that you would traditionally see in a brick pattern. By turning it on its end and stacking it on top of each other, it completely changes the look. So tile is a pretty flexible material. You can really do a lot of cool things with a rather humble material. Thank you. The bowl, you want to do the bowl?
You can pull.
I'll pull, okay. So this is from Waypoint. It is a kitchen raffle. So I'm not sure what all's in here. There's a cookbook, spatula, hot pad.
A cookbook holder.
Yeah. Cookbook.
And then I think a tablecloth, as well as a sort of soft cooler. All right. Like the Hunger Games. All right, everybody's got their tickets? It is 423-759. Congratulations.
Hello everyone, I'm Tilden Mosby with Lansing Building Products. Pretty cool that I'm a special guest, great honor. Let's get started. All right, talking about some siding options today. We'll start with James Hardie fiber cement. It's a lap siding, a board and batten, a shake profile. You can also get into architectural designs where they have nickel gaps or different textures of panels. And then for the lap siding, which Chris is passing around, there's a cedar mill and a smooth option. As you can see up here on the fiber cement, very durable. Once it's up on the wall, it is pretty delicate when you're carrying it around. But once it gets installed, it is very durable compared to other siding options. Moisture, rot resistance, because it's a cement product, having a grill next to it or having the sun beat down on it, it's gonna last for a long time. We touched on the textures and colors. The statement collection, which you can see over here, Chris has it, and he could pass that around if he wants, but there's 18 colors in this statement collection, so a bunch of variety. Those come in both the smooth and textured for the lap, and then also in all of the panel board and batten options. Next is the vinyl mastic siding. Comparing to fiber cement, very affordable. It's lightweight, easy to install, low maintenance, and there's a couple different options when we get into that. There's your regular vinyl siding panel, which comes in either a straight lap or a Dutch lap. And then you can get into a foam back product, which this is just the standard Dutch lap. And then they also have a straight panel for those profiles as well. It comes in different thicknesses as well. The Quest panel, what Chris has here, is the thicker panel. And then the structure over here is the insulated with that same 046 thickness. It just has the insulation come on the back and it's already adhered from the factory. You do have lesser, thicker, I guess, how am I saying that? Not as thick options for the vinyl, which are just, you get a little bit more flimsy. Warranty's still the same on colors, but if you go up to that thicker gauge of vinyl, it's just going to be a straighter panel on the wall when you're installing, stronger against weather, resistant, hail, sleet. And once you get into they have darker colors on there that have a solar defense technology, which Mastic is the only one that has that, and it's for limited colors. They only have like, I think 5 or 6, but very dark. That is a competing color to like the James Hardie fiber cements, because they can get really dark colors as well. But just a little tidbit on the vinyl siding. And then our last siding option, which we don't have a sample of today, but we can, I can have some pictures and information in the back after this, is Everlast. And just to touch on some warranties on all 3 of these products, and then I'll explain a little bit more on the Everlast. James Hardie is a 30-year warranty on the finish of the product as long as it's installed correctly. Mastic is a limited lifetime warranty and is also transferable to the next owner of the home. That does get a little prorated depending on how long the original owner was there. And then Everlast is a 100% guarantee replacement of the product if it fails, as long as it was installed properly. And that also has a transferable warranty up to 50 years, and that's prorated as well to the next new owner. And then Everlast is a cellular PVC product. It comes in a lap siding, a board and batten, as well as a shake product, similar to James Hardie. It's moisture resistant, rot, insect. It does move a little bit because it's a PVC product, and the lap or board and batten tucks behind the trim when you're installing, so there's a gap behind there. It gets covered, but it does leave it a little bit of room to move on the wall when temperature is changing. Comes as a pre-finished product like all the other options. It is the most expensive, but it has the least amount of maintenance compared to all these other options. And this is just showing a couple pictures. And the Everlast product, lap siding, comes in 2 different profiles for that. They also have a shake product and board batten. And then here's a porch project with vinyl siding. All right, new vinyl siding, trim, and railing on this one. Right. James Hardie siding. Another James Hardie project. To touch on screen options, we have a product, it's called Screenies, and Chris will pass out some samples, and I can show you this also.
Yeah. So this is a system that attaches the screen, and when you install it, it pre-stretches the screen. It also allows replacement of screen down the road to be a lot easier.
So it's basically, if you can see on these pictures in the smaller samples, it's a 45 aluminum piece that the screen will go over this little part that pops out, and then the vinyl cap goes right over it once it's stretched out. Very easy to interchange if you poke through your screen of any kind on the sections. They come in 8-foot and 12-foot lengths, so you can get very large openings with just screen. Here's an example of different mounting options. This is an exterior mount, and then if you flip this sample over, it's the interior, so it's flush with your outside here. I don't know if we want to pass this around, or we can look at it after. But just 2 ways to install it depending on your project. Yeah, easy to replace, easy to install, large sections. Pretty inexpensive compared to other screen systems. And then the Metro ScreenWorks, I don't know too much on that one, so maybe.
Yeah, so with the screening, there's all different types of screen that you can use. There's what we call pet screen. We use that a lot, but it's very durable, and if the dog were to jump up there, it kind of helps. They also have something, what do they call it, the easy view, where the gauge of the steel or the way it's placed, you can see clearer through the screen. So there's a lot of different options that you can choose, but we would work with you with how do we mount the screen, and then what type of screen would you go ahead and use for your project.
Yeah, and this can fit any screen. So it comes and you just take it apart, pop your screen in there, whichever screen option you choose, and then install it up. So here's a new screen porch with deck. All right, so amazing, easy screen system. A couple different versions of this look and product out there. As long as it's like a 4-track system, it's going to be relatively the same. This is an example here. It can get pretty wide widths. I don't know on this project what those widths were, maybe like 4 feet or 3 feet, roughly. But they can get into like 4 feet or 5 feet wide, and then they would be a 4-track system, floor to ceiling. It can go up to 9 or 10 feet. And it has a full screen on the outside, which this one's all cut off. It sometimes comes in similar to the Screenies, where the screen is all, still not uncut on the outside, just so you can adjust it if needed. And then on the inside, it's not glass, it's a vinyl film. And you can push on it as hard as you want, and it'll come back eventually to flush. And then, I don't know if you can tell, but there's different tints for the vinyl film. So depending on if you want it perfectly clear, if you want a little tint in there, there's a bronze, a gray, I think there's a blue, and then there's just a regular clear. But pretty cool product to do a 3-season room. Again, it is not glass, so it's not insulated, but if you do have like small heaters or AC system, it could keep it a relatively decent temperature. I mean, you could bring them all up too. I don't know why this one is locked in here, but there we go. So yeah, you could do all the way up or all the way down. So it would be floor to ceiling screen. And in this case, if you guys did have any pets or anything, we could potentially swap out this screen for that harder screen that's better for pets going against it. And then they do have different screen options in general from the manufacturer. And they have, like, these are your window options, but they also have doors that have that same track system as well, so you could open up the whole area. All right, PVC AZEK versus a different option for trim, which is Boral. And I think, Chris, do you have any of those samples? So here's the Boral. This is the siding options, but they do make a trim as well. And then the AZEK PVC, it's going to be a cellular PVC trim. It's going to be a smooth finish, white. They do have paintable AZEK trim options. It comes as basically without the finished coating on it, so it absorbs paint easier if you guys wanted a different option other than white trim for your PVC. That is more maintenance because you do have to eventually repaint it, but if it's regular PVC, you could spray it off and it would be good to go. As for the Boral, it's made out of a fly ash and polymer, which is, we've had vendors come and at the start of the show, they put a piece of Boral trim in a bucket filled with water, and 3 hours later, they pull it out. It's the same size, doesn't move. There's no moisture going into it. It's one of the best trim siding products that is out there. It is only in its primed state, which is shown down here, so you do have to finish it. Typically it's paint, but I have seen customers or painters stain the trim before. It doesn't always work as well as they want it to, but it definitely takes paint very, very, very well. So if you are ever getting into a project where you don't want your trim to move, low maintenance, zero rot, no insects go after this product, Boral is the way to go. And it's very easy to mill, just in case you have a weird situation or you wanted to put a little profile on like a panel, which I think we'll get into some PVC pictures as well, where you can mill PVC where it puts a little texture onto your panels on like the outside of a porch or something.
Yeah, what's nice about both products is they're maintenance-free, rot resistance. PVC does tend to expand and contract a lot with heat and temperature changes, and therefore it's not recommended to paint it in a really dark color that's going to absorb heat. Boral, on the other hand, it's totally inert and it's not going to move. So if you want to have trim and you want to be able to paint a dark color on it, it's a slightly better option. Mm-hmm. But they're both great, low maintenance, insects hate it, and keeps you from painting.
Yeah.
or the paint will last a lot longer on the surface.
All right, so here's that example, I think, of some milled PVC on this project. Here's just an example of wider trims, the AZEK that was used on this project. All right, columns. Got a couple different options here. PVC column wraps, which are only going to be a wrap option. They don't come as a full structural system. They're durable. They're PVC, same situation what we've been talking about with the trim. They just made a foldable column wrap, and it'll come similar to this,
It'll
except
fold
for the
and
tape
snap
is
together.
coming off on that one. But it comes as like 3 pieces are folded together with the tape like that adhered to 3 of those pieces, and then there's the 4th that'll snap in once you wrap it around whatever you're going around. Which is
Usually
typically a
this is
4x4.
installed over a pressure-treated post or column, but it's a good way to give a decorative column, and again with that maintenance-free feel. But it kind of goes around and it snaps and clicks, locks in place, and works great.
The other option is permacast, which comes in a more variety of styles and looks, and have a couple different options. They do have like non-load bearing, but then they also have structural load bearing options where you can, if you're building a new porch, put just the column. You don't have to do your 4x4, 6x6, and then put something around it. It would just be the column, which they have like round, they have tapered round, they have fluted round, and then same with your square, fluted square. They do have a tapered square option and then a recessed panel option, and then they all have different styles of top and bottom caps. But similar to the PVC wraps, very low maintenance, weather resistant, rot. And here's a project showing some of the column wraps here. And here's an example of the permacast columns, decks, flooring, and railing. All right, talking a little bit about the different options here. Lansing basically does all your exterior finishes, but we don't do any lumber. So I'm going to let Chris just chat about the pressure treated real quick and cedar.
Yeah, so pressure-treated lumber, that's what everyone's familiar with. A lot of people may have decks that were built out of that. Seems like every 20 years they change the pressure-treated formulation on it. So it's probably the least expensive and value choice for building a deck. Next from there, you can go up to more exotic woods or nicer woods. Cedar's another good option. It's naturally rot resistant, but you probably do want to put a little bit of finish on it. If you don't finish cedar, it's going to turn to a silver gray. But those are some of the wood options. And then you get into more exotic species like ipe. So ipe is a very dense wood that comes out of the rainforest. Very difficult. You can't really put nails in it, so you have to pre-drill it and screw it. But it's a very naturally rot-resistant, very durable material. It actually has a fire rating on it too, because it's so dense it's even hard to burn for wood. But you'll see that quite often. A lot of people may put a stain or a finish on it, but if you don't finish it, it's going to turn a gray or a silver, almost like teak wood if you don't finish it. But if you do put a clear coat on it, it becomes an item that you will have to maintain. Maybe every 4 or 5 years you'll have to reseal it to keep that rich color.
And then I'll touch on the composite and PVC deck boards. The composites, for the most part, maintenance-free. It's a blend of wood fibers and plastic. They are, depending on what board you get, are typically 3-sided capped or 4-sided capped with the PVC texture here that you can see here, and then we'll pass some samples around and we can show more later after this. Yeah. But maintenance free, if you ever have like chairs you're sliding across, there is a neat trick. I went to AZEK's plant once. We were scratching up boards, PVC and their composite, and if you just take like a hair dryer or a heat gun, if you have that, it basically just comes right back. Wow. It was pretty crazy. I didn't think it was going to work. I was scratching it very, very hard to make it difficult, but pretty neat trick I learned, and it happens for both composite and PVC. It's easy to fix. Just take some heat to it and wave it back and forth, and it comes right back. And then for your PVC, 100% PVC plastic. I don't love the plastic word, but that's what they call it. Very
You can feel how much
low
lighter
maintenance. And then if you're doing a project more near water or have a pool or something, it's just the easier option for moisture to not get in it and mess around with it. Because there's no wood fibers or anything, the composite tends to have a little issue. But they both have great warranties depending on what series. I think the lowest level for TimberTech and AZEK is going to be a 25-year, but then they get up to 50-year in one of their PVC lines.
Yeah, what's nice about the composite and the PVC, there's different fastening systems. So you see that board that has a groove, there are hidden fasteners so that you won't see any surface screws or surface nails. And even in the PVC, you can face screw it, but there's a product called Cortec where it actually has a plug that when you drill it, it'll countersink the hole perfectly so that you can hammer in a little plug that's the same color and basically all the fasteners disappear. So you don't have to worry about stubbing your feet or catching your sock on any fasteners.
And then we're going to touch on some railing options here. TimberTech has an aluminum rail, which I brought a couple samples, and my warehouse manager and I made these out of full size, so they're a little janky just because we had to put them back together, which normally they come as a 6 or 8 foot section. Similar, once put together like that, it has your balusters, your top and bottom piece here, and you'll fasten them to your posts or wall, column wrap, whatever the structure is. And then because they have different top rail options, you're fastening here to your post or structure, and then you just pop your top cap on and it hides your fasteners. Same with the bottom, you fasten it, pop it on, hides all your fasteners, very clean and very easy to install because it's comes as a full system, full 6 foot or 8 foot. You can either cut them down a little bit if you need to and then pop your top and bottom caps on, hides all your fasteners. Very sleek, very good system, low maintenance. And then they also come in 3 different colors, which I have over here, white, bronze, and black. And they're all like a powder-coated texture feeling. When you get into the cable rail, same railing system for TimberTech, but it would just be, you would have your top rail system here, and then this bottom would not be there. Your horizontal cable would go post to post. They have different posts that come pre-drilled for where the cable is going to run through, and then there's fastening for the cable specifically. And then typically every section is going to have a small, it's not like a post, it's like, I don't remember what they call it, but it just keeps the cable in line so nothing bows. But same system, you can have different top rail options. You just have to order. We do different posts for that system, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive than your typical railing options. That's probably the most expensive option.
And it's available on a vertical cable or the horizontal cable. The vertical cable is nice because it's already pre-assembled when you put it together. The horizontal is a little bit more labor intensive because you actually have to string it and tighten it and put it under tension. So just a couple of different options for those.
And then you get into your wolf railing, which we have a sample back here. And the least expensive option is going to be your vinyl rail. This sample I don't think shows, but ours are going to be double aluminum, which means there's aluminum in the top and the bottom of your rail section. So you can see it here, aluminum running through this top section, but we also have aluminum running through the bottom. I don't think there's any in this sample, but makes it more sturdy, structural for people leaning against it, and it just, in case you have to meet a code for whatever county you're in, the double aluminum meets all of them. And then there's 2 different profiles in the T-top here, the white square baluster or the black round. They also have a deck board option. I don't see a picture here, but basically it's this profile just on the top, and then it comes with clips. You can put your deck board on top.
Yeah. And that one was one of the first types of composite railing. It does look like plastic. It's shiny. It almost reminds me of those old resin patio chairs. So there are the Intex rail, which we'll talk about, and we do have on display in the back. It's a composite rail, but it really looks like a painted finish on it. So it looks like, you know, real wood millwork.
Yeah, and that's the next one up. The Intex railing, 100% cellular PVC. Comes with different profile for the top rail as well, and they have different sizes for your post sleeves. Very low maintenance, very durable. And then the last option is just the pressure treated wood, which we've kind of touched on that with the decking. It's going to be similar to your railing options. And then here's a TimberTech rail project. And then here's just an example of the TimberTech cable rail. And this one happens to be the deck board top. But this one shows the bottom rail here. You don't always have to have that. It's kind of your, whatever your preference is for the aesthetic on the look of it. But these are going to be running your cable through, and I think 60 feet is the longest that they recommend for your runs. But in the ending post, they have line posts that just run with cable through. They have end post where all the hardware is, and that's where your railing's going to stop, and that's where you tighten and loosen it. And then they have corners, which these are angled corners or 90 degree, and you can run that cable right through it. And then here's an example of the Intex railing, 100% PVC.
So the Intex railing, the factory finish, it really does look like painted wood. They do a really good job with it. And there's a loose sample of it right there. And we do have one installed in the back on a kind of a front porch mock-up we have in the back. This was the AZEK porch floor. So with that, it's all tongue and groove, and then also with the permacast columns that sit on top.
And then here's a couple exterior ceiling products. In these projects you've seen, they've talked about a couple options, whether they've stained it, done the PVC with the stained laminate look options. And then there's also like James Hardie or Boral or aluminum options for the ceiling. And then there's your regular wood that you can stain. And there's different options, pine, cedar, fir, come through there. And yeah, we could pass around some samples of the vinyl, or sorry, the PVC that has a laminate option that makes it look like stain. And there's two different profiles.
Yeah, so this is the old standby. It's the beaded porch ceiling. You see it in a lot of Victorian homes, or even on it's regular wood, and you can either stain it or paint it. And then there is the AZEK or the PVC option. And with this, you can get a factory applied dark finish, so you don't have to worry about expansion and contraction. But you can see, you can simulate a wider plank like a 6-inch V-groove, or even the regular beaded porch ceiling option.
And it is a laminate, so you can even kind of scratch through that a little bit, and it'll be a little bit stronger than if you were just painting or pre-finishing your PVC. And then here's a couple just different looks on those products. All right, number is 423767. Oh, that's you. All right. Look at that.
It was rigged.
Congrats. All right, awesome.
That's one thing about Foster, if you're not too familiar with us. So we're a design build firm. So we do everything from conception to final walkthrough at David. And you might have noticed that our designers have a wealth of knowledge. So I'm constantly impressed, literally, with them. So they're not just coming to your home and making it pretty for you. At another contractor or company, you might have to go to 5-10 different companies to really find out. You're going to the person that's going to do your plumbing. Then you have to go here to really get expert knowledge, which is really important if you're choosing things for your home that you want to last and not just be beautiful. But our designers and the entire team really are experts, and that's a benefit of being able to get everything in one spot. So today we're going to just Chris and I are going to quickly walk you through our process at Foster, because we do have a proven process. And so when we go through our steps, it is not just kind of like we kind of do this. No, we have a very precise steps to how we do business here, and that's why we've been in business for 42 years. And so when we come out to your house, you're given really our 8-step process. And so that's what we're going to go through today. Everything from what we do before we get to your house to the very end.
All right, so one of the first things we do before we come out to your house, typically you'll schedule with Teresa an initial consultation, and we do that, it's a complimentary initial consultation. But if you're doing any sort of addition to your house, we're going to do a little bit of research up front before we come out. So we're always going to see if we can find a copy of your plat online with whatever jurisdiction you're in, and we're going to look up and see what the property setbacks are. So before we go out, we're going to know how much space do you have on your property, and can you build the size addition that you want to do. There's other things we need to look at too. Someone in here is experiencing this right now. He lives in an area where there's an RPA. So an RPA, it's a resource protected area, and it really limits the amount of your property that you can build on to maintain kind of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So we're also going to look to see if you're in a flood zone. We're also going to look to see if there are any problem soils like David had mentioned. Unfortunately, in the one David looked at, it was not mapped for problem soils. So the problem soil was created by the builder when he built the subdivision by dumping everything in their future backyard. A couple of other areas we work in, Alexandria and Arlington, they have specific regulations on how much of the area of the lot can you cover with a structure. So they call that the floor area ratio. So we're doing all this research before we even come out, just to make sure when we're talking to you, what you're hoping to do that we can build within code and regulations.
So we start off in our process with a complimentary initial consultation. You may talk to Teresa you might schedule online, or she might introduce you to the company, and she's fabulous. I've never heard anybody not say so. But we do come out, the design team, one of us will come out to your home, and we will take a look at what project you're looking to do. We do a lot of preparation at that time. We might look at your electrical panel. We might look at, where the HVAC runs, plumbing. So we do a lot of that homework first before we ever talk to you about what we can do for you. On that visit, we're going to take pretty detailed measurements of the space. We do that by hand, and we also have a cool new Polycam, it's called, where really we can rotate around your room and take a specific kind of 3D picture of your space, and then come back, and that will have all the measurements for us, so we can kind of double check our work there. And we're also going to take some before pictures. And as the designers talk to you, they're really going to get a feel of exactly not only functionally what you need for your space, which is probably the most important. A lot of people renovate their home not only to make it pretty, but maybe some pullouts in your kitchen would make your life easier. And we're talking about renovations. That's a big one of, maybe we're moving your primary bedroom or primary suite to the main level for quality of life. And so they're really going to talk to you about that, as well as the finishes that you like and the style. Maybe you'll look at inspiration pictures together, but they'll get a really good idea of not only what you want, but what you need. And that's what we do in that first meeting. And after we kind of have some conversations, we will talk about loose numbers and budgets of kind of based on what we're looking at. But the more detailed budget will come in the next step. So next step, after we've been at your house, the designers do come back. And again, a lot of companies do not do the length of work we do complimentary, but they do come back and they take a look at all of the notes that we've discussed with you, and we meet with our architectural designers who really put a lot of work into this initial presentation that we're going to give you. So we're looking at, again, what makes it pretty, but the designers work hand in hand with the architectural designers to really look at how can we, like Chris said, how can we renovate? What can we do? Where are, the load-bearing walls? And they do a lot of amazing things, rearranging rooms, taking down walls, all to meet the things that you said that you needed, so that when you come in for that initial presentation, you're really looking at something that is a real life demonstration of what we could do. And so in that meeting, we'll not only have proposed floor plans for you, we'll put together a presentation for you on the screens that shows your before pictures and your before floor plan, and then the proposed new floor plans. And based on that, we'll create some renderings for you, and you'll be able to really visualize all the different angles of the space of exactly what we're looking to do. So that meeting when you come in is very valuable. Again, from that meeting to the first meeting, we're not talking about maybes. We're going to put together real concepts for you, and in that, we're going to put together real budgets, which we can show. This goes along just an example of what you're going to see when you do those presentations, and what I was talking about. We'll have the existing house plan, and we're looking at doing something fresh and new for you. We will have renderings that are real life renderings so that you can see, envision yourself in the space. And again, this took that existing floor plan, and we've created a new floor plan for you so that again, all these dimensions have been done pretty accurately. So when we're talking about spacing and what can be done, it's based on real measurements and real conversations that we've had. And again, just an example of what you'll see when you do the presentations and visualize with us. So at that point, we take a look at if we've met your expectations and what you were looking for. Again, it is just an initial design. It is just our best stab at one conversation with you, but it really is something that gets the ball rolling. And at that time, to retain our services, we would move into the design phase. And that's where we really pin down colors and materials and floor plans and all of that. And in order to move to that phase, we do give you an initial budget that everything you've seen on the screen will be budgeted, detailed, very much for you, so you know exactly what's included. But it is our goal that when you saw that rendering, when you saw that floor plan, everything has been detailed, priced, so that okay, this is what I'm looking for, and this is how much it's going to cost. And with that, we're ready to move forward. And this is our design agreement. We're going to itemize the scope of work that is included in that initial concept. And to move forward, we require a 5% retainer fee, and that's going to be included in the total. It'll go, towards your project, but that is really just to get us started. That's established based on the budget, and so we have a range that we have your budget at. We'll do 5% above and 5% below, so just to kind of give us a range when we're going and going into final selections. And so that 5% will be based on the higher number of the range. So the price we probably got to was around maybe 33, and so we'll do 5% above and 5% below. And that to me is where the fun starts. That's where we really start designing. That's where we take a look at our tiles, and we take a look at exact cabinetry and the color of cabinetry, down to the light switches that you want. And in that process, when we're getting to our design and budget, we do have our experts that are on your team And so you have a group of dedicated people that are going to be working on this project. And some of them include our architectural designers as well as our lead estimator. And what they're going to do is they're going to come out for initial visit. If we need to do lead testing on your home, we'll do that. But they're going to do our architectural designers do the detailed measurements. Okay, so now when we're ordering cabinetry, we have the exact measurement to make sure that there's no errors there. He might poke a hole in a wall if necessary to make sure that we are for sure where the HVAC is, and make sure that we don't have any surprises, which you might, I don't know if anyone's done a renovation with another company, but you might have had where, okay, we start construction and oops, we didn't know that. And well, we didn't know that. And there's always like a few unknowns, but we do try to make sure that we've done all of our research and all of our conceptual design before you sign the contract. And our lead estimator also will be with them to make sure that we haven't missed anything in the initial budgets, and again, to make sure that we start this contract with everybody on the same page and knowing exactly where we're headed.
Yeah, so we've been doing this long enough where we can anticipate some of the challenges or some of the hidden things that we're going to encounter, and we just try to eliminate as many of those variables as we can in the design phase.
And again, part of that will be not only finalizing, like we talked about, the interiors and what they'll look like and what our materials are going to be. We'll finalize all of your drawings, and this will all be done before we go to contract. So when we go to contract, everything will be picked. So we'll be able to start right away ordering all of your materials. There won't be surprises that, oh, actually that tile went up and that cabinetry is this price. When we sign the contract, it is a fixed price. And so that's something that we pride ourselves on, that every single thing, like I said, down to a light switch, down to shoe mold, it has been accounted for. And when you sign, that's the number, and there should be no changes unless it's something that, you decide that you'd like to change. This just talks about the elevations, cabinetry that you'll be, and again, I think this just kind of demonstrates the level of what will be done prior to contract. So we will have everything that we need to make sure that when we go to contract, again, there's not another step that we're saying, well, actually, we need to change this wall, or this wall we can't come down like we thought it could. All that will be done prior to contract.
Yeah, we don't like to use allowances. What we'll do when we're putting together your initial budget, we're going to kind of have an idea of a material cost and share with you, what that is. But when we get to contract, we're going to pick out everything. So it's all going to be listed in your contract with the model numbers. Everything's going to be in there. So allowance is just something we talk about in the budget, but when we go through the design phase, everything is defined and listed in the contract, so you know exactly what you're getting.
We're at the final decision, and one thing I should mention is that you might not have even seen the whole showroom, but we do have a fairly robust showroom. We have a tile room, carpet room, all kinds, so that you're not running around everywhere. That's what the designers are here to help you do, to gather what we need to show you so that you don't have to go here and go there. And most of what we will recommend is going to be in the showroom. We are always looking at trends and looking at anything. We can do anything. But this does help you just to see the countertops, to talk about what the cabinetry is going to be. And so we've done all of that, and we're at contract. We made any refinements. So once the contract is signed, we're going to send you or discuss with you your start date, and your end date. I don't know if you've worked with other contractors, but for someone to give you an end date, not very common. And so, you're going to know what the timeline is going to be. You're going to know really the different steps and meet your lead carpenter, and all of that will be done after the contract signing. But in the contract signing, again, we're going to have the full scope of work of what we're looking to do, and we're also going to talk about what the deposit or first payment will be, and that is 20% of our now fixed price that we know. And the remaining payments are going to be done really when we start a new phase. So we're starting electrical, there'll be a payment. And that's all pre-established before we sign the contract. So we set up maybe how many payments is going to be depending on the project, what the dollars amount. So you'll really be able to know exactly what to expect when they're going to be there, when they're going to be done, you know, how you're going to pay. All of that will be itemized in the contract so that, again, once we hand it off to production, there should be smooth sailing and there should be no more changes, surprises, conversations, unless it's an unforeseen.
All right, so you've signed the contract. And what is happening during the time that you sign the contract and we're actually going to start the project? So typically we have around a 4-month backlog to start work from the time the contract is signed. But there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes before we're ready to start your project. So what we're going to do is we're immediately going to start submitting for permits. So that's one thing we do. We do not do any jobs without securing the appropriate permits. Also, if it's a kitchen or it's an addition, say you have cabinets or maybe there's doors and windows, these items are going to have lead time. So we want to order those immediately so that they are ready to be installed when it meets that point of the contract or construction calendar when we get there. So even though it may seem like it's a long time before we can start, we're doing a lot of things behind the scenes to prepare for your project. So also materials are ordered. There'll be a detailed schedule that we put together. Most of the time you'll see that when you sign your contract. And then also we're just doing all the logistics behind the scenes. So what we do also internally, so we're design build, so we are the designer, we're the architect, we're the builder. But we have two different divisions. We have our sales and design team, and then we have our production team. So once it's signed, we kind of have an internal handoff where we're taking the fully developed job binder and job package and we're handing it off to our production team so that they can go through and start planning and start organizing everything. So another thing we do is typically 2 weeks before we start your project, we're going to have a pre-construction meeting. That's where the design team is actually going to introduce you to the production team in your home. So we bring out either a production manager or project manager and your lead carpenter, and they're going to go through all of the logistics. We're going to make sure everyone's on the same page as far as scope of work. We're going to talk about all the details. We're going to determine or identify where your water shutoffs are, where the electric panel is. And before they leave, they will confirm your start and finish date and then also give you a detailed construction schedule or calendar. So also on staff, we have a lot of people who work for us. We try to do the bulk of the work with our own in-house employees. Right now, Foster Remodeling, we have lead carpenters on staff. We have carpenters, carpenter helpers, and electricians. So one thing we do that's unique is we have one lead carpenter who's assigned to one job and on one job only. So they're only working on your project while it's under construction. Also, we do have resources that we lend to the carpenter. So there could be a carpenter helper or the electrician who's coming out and helping them along with the project. So unfortunately, we can't do everything with our own in-house people, so we do work with some different subcontractors or trade partners. And most of these companies or individuals are people we've worked with for 5-10 years or more. Anybody who steps foot on your project, we are going to have all of their workers' comp insurance. We're going to have all of the information, certificates of insurance. Every employee who works for Foster Remodeling, we all go through background checks before we're hired, drug tests, checked for driving records, and sex offender lists. So we're doing a lot of vetting to make sure whoever's in your house is going to be trustworthy and you're going to be comfortable. So also our lead carpenter, really what they are is they're the one who's managing your project in the field. So they're kind of like a working superintendent. So they're doing a lot of the labor on your project, but they're also managing the project in the field. Our production managers or project managers, they're behind the scenes in the office, and what they're doing is they're helping with the logistics. They're making sure the material is there on time. They're making sure they're scheduling and having the inspections lined up. And they're managing the schedule to make sure the carpenters are on track. So another thing we do is we take great pride in trying to protect your home while it's under construction. So construction in general, it's messy, it's dirty, it's an inconvenience, but we try everything in our power to make it as smooth and as comfortable as possible. So we're doing a lot of site protection. You can see in the video some of the lengths we go to keep your house clean. So we're going to put down floor protection. If you have hardwood floor, we're going to put down a heavy-duty ram board. So it's really going to protect the floor if we're walking across it. Here you can see we're putting down plastic sheathing over the carpet or on the stairs. We tend to bring out a portable toilet if we're doing exterior work, just so we're not walking through your house with muddy shoes. We put zip wall enclosures so that we can separate the work area from the rest of your house. And another novel thing we do is we take
Yeah, so once the project is completed, that it's been basically completed, you've got a little bit of a chance to live in the project for a little bit. At that point, you will have already gone through a punch list with our lead carpenter. Anything that you saw that needed adjustment or they know that needed to be still finished, they will have made a list. You will have signed off on that. Those will have been completed. You will have, again, lived in it for a little bit. Final check will have already been paid and so forth. But after that, I'd come out with a designer, whoever designed that project, and walk through the project with you to just check and make sure everything's as it should be. I also like to talk to you a little bit about the process, how it went for you, how the experience was, just to see what we could do, if there's anything we could do better. And talk about the different stages of the project. I'm also going to look for anything that I feel like doesn't meet our standard. If you have been living in a couple weeks, a month, whatever it might be from the time I get out there, maybe you've noticed a couple things now that you've started using it. So we'll write that down on another, what we call our quality assurance walkthrough punch list. And we'll put those items down. Anything I find, we'll add to that list. And then what happens is we will bring the carpenters back out again to take care of any of those items that we found. Also during that visit, we're going to go through a warranty binder that has all the information about your project. So all the contracts you signed, any change orders that you may have had, if there were any. The punch list that you'd already completed, there'll be copies of all that information in there. Copies of the permit records will be there for you, showing that they've been closed out, so that you know that there's no open permits left on your project and that we did get them for all the different phases that are required. We're going to have product information about everything that was used in your project, all the model numbers, the spec sheets, the care and cleaning instructions for those projects will be in this binder for you. So kind of everything together in one spot. So we go through everything, make sure that you have all the information related to your project all in one nice, neat place. Again, the list that we create that were there that day, we'll sign that. We'll have you sign that. We'll put a copy of that in your binder. We'll get that back to the office. If there's anything we need to order, we'll get those things ordered and then scheduled to come out and have the lead carpenter take care of any items that are left outstanding. is the kind of the way we like to close out the projects. That list, as they complete them, they'll ask you to initial off on those to make sure they're done. Our warranty is 5 years from the date of final inspection. So whatever the final inspection, last inspection that was done was completed, that will be, since it's sort of a record of public, that will be our start of our 5-year warranty, and it will go 5 years from that date. So we will go through that with you too. So if there's anything along the way that comes up that has a problem 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you can give us a call. We have a place on our website underneath the resource tab where you can submit a warranty claim through there, or you can email us directly at warranty@fosterremodeling.com. It'll come to us. Usually Maria here in our office will reach out to you to schedule someone to come out, take a look at what's going on and what we need to do to get that taken care of for you. We take our warranty serious. If there's any issues that come up, we want to be there to take care of them for you. Also, once you've completed a project with us, we do make our handyman services and our electrical services available to you. We don't do that kind of work for the general public. If somebody just called in and said, hey, could you come do some minor trim work or change the light bulb for us, we would say no. But as a client that we've done a larger project for, we're there for you. If you want us to come out and change the light bulb for you, we'll do it. You want us to come, caulk your bathtub, we'll take care of that for you. So we do have that available to you, and we consider you a client for life. So we want to be available to you for anything that comes up related to the project that we did, or if there's some other work that you need done. Again, we do that kind of work usually on a time and material basis. So, closing out the projects, to me, it's the last sort of last step, making sure my team is doing what they're supposed to be doing the way they're supposed to be doing it. We also have a company that does a survey behind us when we're done. We have a third-party survey company called Guild Quality that sends out a survey behind every project that we do to ask you for your feedback, and then eventually that comes back to us. And what we do in our company meetings is we share the feedback that we get, and usually a picture or two of your job that we will take in when we're out there doing the final walkthrough, and let the whole team see what was done, and also see the comments that come back. And it's a good way to keep everybody on their toes, and that we're checking behind them. We know they're making sure that we're doing everything correctly. If some things come up, we can start to see a pattern of there being a problem. It's obviously something we need to jump on and see what we can do to change that. Also, if there's a pattern of good comments that come back, those are things obviously we want to keep doing that way. So it's very helpful. It also gives our other team members a chance to see each other's jobs, because they don't always get a chance to see what the other lead carpenters are working on. So it gives them a chance to see the finished projects that were done. So that's kind of our closeout process of the job. I personally enjoy going and seeing what we've done, how things have worked out. If there are any little problems that are still there, looking at what the best ways are that we might be able to resolve those, make sure those get taken care of. And to us, it's very important that the final project is really closed out completely, properly, and that you're happy with it, and that there's nothing left that's outstanding. There are many walkthroughs I go through there that the client really doesn't have anything, but I do see a couple of things that I want to take care of that we do. I kind of have this little cat and mouse game going with our lead carpenters. They hope that I don't find anything, and I always try to find something just to keep them on their toes, knowing that we're always looking. They usually will. I hear from a lot of the clients that they say, oh, he'll probably find a couple things when he looks at it, and sometimes I don't, but most of the time there's something that we pick up on that needs to be addressed and adjusted, minor things. A lot of times the client's not even aware of it, but it's something that I see and I want to make sure that stuff gets taken care of. So we try to finish clean and strong and make sure that everything is the way that you want, and you got what you paid for it with this whole process. So to me, it's a very important part of who we are. And at the end of the day, my name's on the front door. I want to make sure that we're doing a good job, and I think the whole team respects that and tries to work to that standard to keep us keep the projects going well and doing a good job and having happy clients. I mean, we've been doing this for 42 years now, so quite a long time, longer than most people in business these days. And our industry is famous for people coming and going, but we've really developed a system, a process that works. We have many clients that come back to us multiple times, multiple projects. I know when I first started in this business many years ago, you think you do a project, and how often is it that somebody could spend that kind of money with you a couple times? Well, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that once you do one room in their house and it turns out great and it really improves the livability of the house, that guess what? Now the other rooms look bad and they want to do those too. So they come back for more. And of course, if they had a good experience, they're going to tend to go back to where they had a good experience last time. So, that's kind of our whole process we put together to try to sort of ensure the kind of results that we want to have each time. Do we make mistakes sometimes? Yes, we do. And if we do, we'll make it right. We'll fix it. We'll take care of it. We're not going to run from a problem. We're not perfect, but we try to be as close to that as we can be. And if there's something that we left out, we will stand behind it. We will take care of it. We'll make it right. We'll make it right for you. And it's very important to us. And it gives our designers and salespeople a lot of comfort knowing that what they have sold you and what they've designed for you is going to get turned out the way that it's supposed to be, and that they can be confident knowing that the company's going to deliver on what it is that they spent months in cases working with clients to get to a very specific detail project, that we're going to actually deliver that for them the way it was designed. So it makes everybody happy all the way through is our goal behind that. Working with our designers, regardless of who you work with or who you pick, they're all going to have a very similar approach. Everybody has their own personality and so forth, which is great. But they're all going to kind of strive for the same deliverable at the end of the day, and then to try to listen to you what it is you really want in your project. I mean, we can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with it every day and have to be happy with what you've got. And we can keep working with you until we get exactly where you want. My whole philosophy is if you don't plan it well, you'll never execute it well. So spend that time planning it. I would much rather have you spend an extra long time planning it and in the design phase, get it exactly how you want on paper and in the renderings and all of our documentation, so that once we start, we can make the job go smoothly for you. There's no chance we're going to start and finish on time if we don't plan it well. So that planning process is really, to me, the key to our success, is planning it well and trying to use reliable products that we know hold up well, and putting it together well, and the subs that we have, having ones that work with us and we'll stand behind their work also. And if they don't for some reason, we'll stand behind their work. If they worked through us, we're going to be responsible for them ultimately. So just trying to give you sort of a peace of mind and make the process comfortable. Remodeling is, we hear lots of stories. A lot of people we talk to, they've had very bad experiences, and we try not to be on that list for sure. And I can honestly say after 42 years, I think there's probably, I can only think of probably one customer that it's not that they wouldn't work with us, but I wouldn't work with them. There was one of those in all those years, but not only one. So that that's that to me that says a lot too, that we're able to keep going back in people's homes. We really appreciate and value that we get invited back a second and a third time to do other projects for them. So that's basically the sort of the end process of what we do. Again, I really like to think that everybody in the company takes a lot of pride in what they do, and they want to have a good result. They want to have you as our client happy. They want to make sure I'm happy with what I see when I come out to look at it, and they want to take pride in what they've done too and what they see. And I think it shows in most of the projects that we do. So that's how we roll around here. If you're interested in doing a project or something you want to do, that we have multiple ways you can do that. You can always call into the office. Teresa would talk to you, gather information from you, and schedule an appointment with you. If you're more somebody that would like to do it at your own convenience, online we do have a little short video for each one of our designers, talking a little bit about themselves and so forth, and you can actually go online, schedule live on their calendar with a date and a time for your appointment. Also that way, so that's another option for you. You also can scan a little barcode there, and that will take you to the designer webpage to see the designers, their videos, and then from there you can see their calendar availability and so forth. They also would like to ask to make sure, as we come to the end of this, that the surveys that we gave you, if you wouldn't mind filling those out for us, we'd appreciate any feedback you can give us on those. We're always trying to find better topics or better ways to present with these meetings. So hopefully it was a little bit informative for you, and you were able to get something useful. And we have the last raffle.
Okay, 423757.
Bingo again.
You guys are going home with the bounty.
You have lots of coolers.
My husband's an avid golfer.
Certainly appreciate everybody coming today. If we're here for you. If you have any specific questions that you have for any of us, we're happy to answer any questions for you. If there's anything that else you'd like to cover, or anything that's more personal to your home or your project, we're happy to answer those for you.